7 years married, and my husband hasn't set foot in my room once. He's got someone else in his heart, an orphan girl he brought back from the battlefield. She's bold and bright, keeps provoking me. So what if I'm the legitimate wife? Still just sweeping alone every night. I smile softly, say nothing. Petting Wan Kai's head, I smile faintly. A dog's better company than a man. God knows how great it is not having to deal with household drama or serve a husband. But one day, after a trip to the palace, he suddenly changed. My name is Su Ruwei, celebrated daughter of the Grand Tutor. Autumn banquet I saved the young Princess Hang Ying from nearly falling into the water. The Empress Dowager thought I was gentle, kind, talented and beautiful. She was extremely pleased. With one decree, she arranged my marriage to the famous Prince of Zhangbei, Ni Hanshan. My face went pale, I nearly lost my composure and hurriedly knelt. He is of modest talent learning, hardly a suitable match for the Prince of Zhang. I begged the Empress Dowager to resign this order. Everyone knows there's a woman in the prince's manor. The one the Prince of Zhangbei brought back from the battlefield, the one he loves. He once made a bold declaration that he'd never take a wife or concubine, that he'd be faithful to her alone. Marrying into that situation, I stole a glance at him. Sure enough, his expression was dark as thunder. Afterward, father and mother worried so much over me they barely slept for half a month. They submitted several petitions, all redacted by His Majesty. And the Prince of Zhangbei, who I thought would try to break the engagement, stayed silent. On the wedding day, during the ceremony when we were to bow to each other, a maid came running in from outside, stumbling and falling. Your Highness, you must go quickly. Mistress Lu has a heart attack. She's dying. Kai Hanshan's face changed drastically. He immediately threw down the red silk in his hand. Under the shocked gazes of all the guests, he stormed out, leaving me standing alone at the wedding. Through the bottom of my veil, I watched his bright red wedding robe disappear into the distance. The red silk in my hand grew cold. With the groom gone, no point continuing the ceremony. I ripped off the veil covering my head. Everyone expected me to storm out. Instead, I smiled slightly, and under everyone's astonished stare, I calmly began greeting guests as the Princess Consort of Zhangbei. This marriage between me and Prince Ni Hanshan wasn't just any family alliance. It had to happen. Father was helpless about it too. Everyone there was politically savvy. They acted like nothing happened and went to the front courtyard to take their seats for the banquet. Only my brother was furious, determined to get justice for me. But I held him back. Brother, don't. It's fun. On the wedding day, he humiliates you like this. He and I were never a normal married couple to begin with, much less two people in love. I prepared myself mentally before marrying Yin. Couples who love each other for a lifetime are rare anyway. Mutual respect is also a way to get along. Besides, his behavior today did embarrass me. But it also embarrassed His Majesty and the Empress Dowager. You don't need to intervene, brother. His Majesty and the Empress Dowager will handle it. My brother sighed bitterly, looking at me with pity. But Weiwei, this is so unfair to you. I sighed softly, shook my head, and said no more. Later I heard from the maids that father and brother gave Ni Hanshan the cold shoulder all day. He knew he was wrong and quietly took it. That evening he finally entered the bridal chamber. The traditional rituals that should have taken place, the wedding wine, lifting the veil, all of it, at my instruction, were cleared away. Even the dates, lotus seeds, and peanuts scattered on the bed for good luck were all picked up. Red candles burning high, flickering lights, all the festive red, looked out of place under his cold face. I sat at the vanity, having my maid Hupo remove the jewelry from my hair. Seeing him enter, I turned and asked, Your Highness, is Mistress Lu better? He sat down at the table. His expression was hard to read in the lamplight. Seeming somewhat apologetic, he answered after a pause. Ru has always been frail. What happened today wasn't intentional. It's because she caught a chill in the courtyard a few days ago and fell ill. The maids were just overly worried. I apologize on her behalf, Princess Consort. Have you been wronged? Your Highness, I wouldn't dare claim that. I restrained the smile on my face. I looked him straight in the eye and said, I'm sure Your Highness and I both understand clearly. This marriage between you and me was forced by His Majesty and the Empress Dowager's decree. I know Your Highness already has someone in your heart. I have no intention of competing with her. But things are what they are. From now on, I'll fulfill my duties as the legitimate wife. I'll manage the household. As for anything else, I ask for nothing. I only hope to live peacefully in this main courtyard. I ask Your Highness to grant me this. We're both unwilling. Why put on a fake show? Every day. That would just be disgusting. Better to lay our cards on the table. Easier for both. This kind of directness probably suited Ni Hanshan's personality. Sure enough, his brow relaxed a bit. He stared intently at my smiling face in the candlelight for a long while. Finally, he said in a low voice, I'll give you proper respect. I thanked Your Highness. After that, nothing more was said. I waved for Hupo to continue removing the jewelry from my hair. Weddings are brutal. After wearing this phoenix crown all day, my neck is killing me. Ni Hanshan reeked of alcohol. After sitting for a few minutes, he went to the back to bathe. By the time he came out, Stilgamp had already dismissed the servants. I grabbed a travel book and was leaning against the headboard reading. Not a trace of a newly bride's shyness around her husband. Yan seemed tired too. He glanced at me a few times. He climbed into bed on his own and pulled the silk quilt over himself. This carved bed with butterflies and flowers was made when I was young. Mother had it specially commissioned for my dowry. By Master Su, a famous craftsman from Jiangnan. Took him a year and a half. That's being exquisite. Its only feature is that it's huge. It could fit two of me with room to spare. Even though Nahanshan is large, there's plenty of space left for me. Seeing he'd already gone to sleep and it was getting late, my book climbed over him to get out of bed and blew out the dragon and phoenix wedding candles. What are you doing? He looked at me confused. According to the capital's custom, the dragon and phoenix candles on the wedding night must burn till dawn, symbolizing a loving marriage and eternal harmony. But he and I don't need such things. I slowly climbed back into bed and pulled another quilt over myself. I said flatly, I can't sleep with the light on. I moved to the far side, leaving a large gap between us. Though it was our wedding night, we both seemed to reach some unspoken understanding. That Nihanshan wouldn't touch me, I'd already expected that before marrying in. Right now I even felt somewhat relieved. Just staring at the red silk by the bed, the melancholy in my heart was hard to shake. Young women have their worries, marriage is like being reborn. I'd secretly fantasized about what my future husband would be like. Tall or short, fat or thin, strong and decisive or refined and gentle. What kind of personality? Would he and I be like my sister and her husband, bickering constantly? Or, like father and mother, deeply in love and respectful? Now I have all the answers. Too bad his heart already belongs to someone else. Fighting for someone who doesn't love you is the stupidest thing in the world. Hearts are always partial. No matter how much you do, in his eyes, it might just be annoying. So be it. I don't ask for love, just respect. In the darkness, I closed my eyes, forcing myself to sleep. Tears slowly slid down my cheeks. Before long, violent knocking suddenly erupted at the door, along with the sound of heated arguing. I frowned and called out toward the door. Hupo, what's going on? From Fan Courtyard forced her way here. Says Mistress Lu is unwell and demands your highness come. Hupo's voice was angry and urgent. Hearing this, Nihanshan turned and started to get up. I'll go check on her. The moment he moved, I grabbed his arm firmly. I know your highness treasures Mistress Lu, but today during the ceremony, your highness already humiliated me in front of everyone. Where you go from now on, I don't care. But tonight, you must stay. I'm from a good family too. I was raised with love by my parents and brother. I ask your highness to give me and the Shu family some face. I stared at him intently, gripping his arm tightly. I could almost feel the muscles tensing beneath the red silk robe. Not backing down an inch, I said word by word, your highness just said. You give me respect, let me handle these matters. Your highness should sleep. Without waiting for his answer, I got out of bed first and lit the lamp. I took down the elaborate gold, embroidered wedding dress I just changed out of, and put it on, deliberately showing him, reminding him. Nihanshan stopped moving and sat back down on the bed. I opened the door and went out, all the noise stopped. Everyone clearly didn't expect me to come out, instead of his highness. Mama Zhao, who'd been causing such a ruckus, seemed shocked. She went quiet. My lady. I looked around at everyone outside the door. My gaze lingered a few extra seconds on Mama Zhao and the little maid he brought. Before they could speak, I ordered expressionlessly. Hupo, bring my token. Go to the Imperial Medical Office and fetch Dr. Zhao to examine Mistress Lu. Give Mama Zhao and the others 30 lashes each for causing a disturbance at night. Lock them in the woodshed. Deal with them tomorrow. Hupo smiled brightly. Yes. I'm moved to have people take action. A well-dressed servant woman nearby seemed hesitant. My lady on the wedding day, shedding blood might be inauspicious. I laughed coldly. Right. You all know this is his highness and my wedding night. Yet you let this disrespectful servant woman make such a scene out here. I had no idea the Prince of Jianbei's manor had such rules. Seeing my anger, everyone sprang into action. Zhao was dragged away. She kept shouting desperately, Your highness, your highness. As if annoyed, Nihanshan's cold voice came from inside. Gag her. At that, someone immediately stuffed her mouth. They quickly dragged her away. Walls have ears. The next day, news of what happened at my wedding with Nihanshan spread throughout the city. I went from being the envied daughter of the Grand Tutor to the city's laughingstock. When His Majesty and the Empress Dowager in the palace heard about this, they summoned Nihanshan to the palace and severely reprimanded him. The Empress Dowager and the Emperor specially sent the most capable palace maid, with lavish gifts to comfort me, and to put that Mistress Lu in her place. After that was done, I brought my maid Hupo to see her. After all, this Miss Lu has such a delicate constitution, catching cold just please. She's Nihanshan's precious treasure, can't mistreat her. I smirked slightly. Just as I reached the door, I saw Mistress Lu sobbing, curled up in Nihanshan's arms, seeking comfort. She looked up, eyes brimming with tears, huge drops streaming down her face like they cost nothing. Truly pitiful. Yahunzhili, Hanshan, you believe me, I didn't mean to disrupt your wedding with the princess consort. It's my useless body. Mama and Xiaohuan were just worried about me, that's why. She coughed a few more times. Nihanshan patted her back gently practiced. Mistress Lu's poor health is no secret in the capital. They say it's from when she saved Nihanshan on the battlefield years ago. The details are unclear, but because of this, Nihanshan dotes on her. A life or death bond, such deep devotion. How could anyone else compare? And I never wanted to compete. Hupo following behind me couldn't stand it anymore. She coughed lightly as a reminder. Only then did the two of them notice me. Mistress Lu looked up at me with a pale, ingratiating smile. Princess consort, she even tried to struggle to get out of bed to bow to me. But halfway there, she fell back into Nihanshan's arm. Seeing this, I can't be bothered to figure out if she's for real or just faking it. I say warmly and generously, your body's not well, so stay in bed. Rest and recover, that's what matters. It's my fault for being so useless. I should have been the one serving tea to Madam today. Instead, I'm making Madam consume me. It's completely wrong of me. And yesterday I disturbed the prince and princess all day. It's truly inexcusable. You're being too formal. Those were just thoughtless servants doing foolish things. Don't get upset over them and hurt yourself. The doctor came by yesterday. What did he say? I smile and accept her show of weakness completely. And honestly, I'm curious about her illness. It's just my chronic heart condition I can't handle window shut. I've only managed to survive these years thanks to the prince's care. Princess, don't worry about it. I just need plenty of rest. Her answer is gentle, but every word carries weight. Can't handle wind, can't handle stress, the prince values her. Isn't she basically telling me not to pull rank on her as princess? By the rules, as a concubine, she should come to the main house daily to pay her respects. But since she's putting it like this, saying her health is poor, if something happens, won't that be on me? I smile faintly. Fine by me, I don't want to see her anyway. I have no interest in Ni Hanshan. I just want to live peacefully in my quarters. So I say happily and generously, you're being too formal. You're breaking my heart here, since your health isn't good. Forget about things like morning and evening greetings from now. Just focus on taking care of yourself. My generosity clearly pleases Ni Hanshan. After some more talk, servants bring in steaming medicine from outside. After the maids help her drink it and she settles down to rest, Na Hanshan and I leave the courtyard together. Halfway there, Ni Hanshan suddenly says, Ru'er's health is poor. I'm afraid I'll have to trouble you going forward. I freeze for a moment before it clicks. He's trying to dunk the job of caring for concubine Lu on me. I just said all that to avoid this hot potato. If I do a good job, I won't necessarily get rewarded. But if I mess up, I'll definitely face complaints. Does he think he can push me around just because I'm easygoing? I hold back my anger and look him straight in the eye. I say coolly, my lord, there's nothing troublesome about it. Before I entered the household, the servants took good care of her. Just keep everything the same as before. The stewards and housekeepers surely know better than I do how to care for someone who's ill. To be honest, my lord, my own health isn't great either. If you want, you can ask my mother about it when we visit my family. My mother was already heartbroken about me marrying Ni Hanshan. After hearing about what happened yesterday, she fell ill. I'm worried, but all I can do is send someone to check on her. The moment I bring this up, he goes quiet. He knows he messed up. That's not what I meant. Now that Madam has entered the household, all household matters fall under your management. Ruru is often sick. There'll inevitably be troublesome matters that come your way. I'm afraid it'll be hard on you. As for your mother, I'll apologize in person when we visit. Yesterday was truly unfair to you. It's no trouble. Just have the servants take good care of her. My lord, rest assured I'm not the jealous, suspicious type. Whatever treatment concubine Lu had before, she'll have now. He must hear the coldness in my voice. He stares at me steadily. I appreciate your generosity, madam. I'll leave the rest to you. After saying this, he even clasps his hands to his chest and bows to me formally. My heart skips a beat. The mighty prince of northern pacification, who doesn't even have to bow before the emperor. A man others see as stern and untouchable, is bowing his head right now. I don't know whether to marvel at Ni Hanshan's devotion or envy that girl Lu Ru'er's incredible luck. The only thing I know for sure is this. I'm the only victim in this marriage. I must have been some terrible villain in my past life to end up in this situation. I push down the bitterness in my chest and step aside from his bow. I turn my head so he won't see my tears fall. My voice stays steady. You're too kind, my lord. It's getting late. I still have household matters to handle. I won't see you off. Safe travels, my lord. Without waiting for his response, I leave with my maid Hupo. Hupo holds my arm and looks at me with concern. Miss. I wipe the tears from my eyes and give her a small smile. Don't worry, I'm fine. Even without feelings. From what I've seen so far, Ni Hanshan is at least someone I can talk to. Life won't be too hard. Mother holds me, crying. Ni Hanshan actually keeps his word and apologizes to save face from me. Though father and mother are unhappy, they consider that I'm now married into the prince's household. My entire future depends on him. In the end, they don't dare push too hard. The meal isn't exactly cheerful, but it's not unbearably awkward either. Before we leave, mother pulls me aside to ask if the prince and I consummated the marriage. Looking at her hopeful eyes, I can't bear to disappoint her. I put on a shy expression and nod. Watching mother breathe a sigh of relief, thanking the heavens, breaks my heart. When I come out, I catch father talking with Ni Hanshan. Wei Wei was spoiled at home. She can be stubborn. If she does anything thoughtless, I hope you won't hold it against her. My lord, I thank you in advance. As he speaks, father bends his back deeply and bows formally to Ni Hanshan. Seeing this, my throat tightens. Tears stream down uncontrollably. My heart aches. Who is this man bowing? It's my father, the crown prince's tutor. When the late emperor insisted on passing over the eldest son, he led all the officials to kneel at the palace gate. The beatings couldn't break his back then. But now it bends for me. I cover my mouth to keep from sobbing out loud. Ni Hanshan is clearly shocked. He quickly steps back. and hooks him up. Father-in-law, please, you mustn't, please stand. I know your heart belongs to another, my lord. I don't ask that you love her deeply. I only ask that you treat Wei Wei. Every word is heartbreaking, filled with a father's pure love for his daughter. Na Hanshan falls silent. Something moves in his eyes. Father-in-law, rest assured, now that Wei Wei has married me, I'll treat her well. Father smiles. It's the most genuine smile he's shown all day. I hide to the side, tears streaming down my face. After a while I pull myself together and come out. Father gives me some instructions as if nothing happened, then personally sees me to the door. The carriage waits at the main gate. Na Hanshan helps me up. The carriage rolls on for quite a distance. I can't help but lift the curtain and look back. In the distance, father's aged figure still stands at the gate, watching the carriage. I can't hold it in anymore. I drop the curtain. Not caring that Na Hanshan is in the carriage, I turn away, lower my head, and start crying uncontrollably. Ni Hanshan raises his hand as if to comfort me, but pulls it back. My heart is in turmoil. Anger rises up. I lift my red, swollen eyes and demand sharply, if you don't like me, why did you marry me? Heaven knows, during the time I was waiting to be married, how much I hoped he would do something. Na Hanshan closes his eyes and says quietly, I'm sorry. It's done. Looking at him, I have nothing more to say. The carriage arrives at the Northern Pacification Prince's residence. As soon as we enter the courtyard, I see Concubine Lu with her maid Xiaohuan waiting at the entrance. Seeing us walking side by side, she immediately comes over. Her eyes are fixed on Na Hanshan. Han, my lord, princess. Your body just started feeling better. Why are you out here? Na Hanshan steps forward and takes her arm. I'm in a bad mood. I don't have the patience for her little power play. I've been away so long. There are other matters I need to handle. I won't intrude. I turn and walk away with Hupo. Sister, what's wrong with her? Behind me, Concubine Lu asks in that delicate, confused tone. It's nothing. The princess is homesick, Ni Hanshan replies. 3. My days at the prince's residence are several times busier than when I was a young lady at home. As the household's mistress, the first thing I need to sort out is the prince's accounts. Na Hanshan joined the army at 12 and fought for 13 years. The emperor favored him greatly. He received countless rewards, gold, silver, lands and estates. But most of it never stayed in his hands. It all went to compensation for fallen soldiers' families. Plus, there's that delicate money pit in the side courtyard. After reviewing the prince's accounts, looking at the monthly balance that barely breaks even, I fall into thought. Whoever wants to manage this household can have at it. Especially that side courtyard's expenses, they're ridiculously outrageous. Monthly medicinal food alone costs over 500 taels. An average household spends only around 10 taels a year. And there are over 20 maids and servants just taking care of her in that courtyard. That doesn't even include the cook who prepares special meals just for her. Add in the incense, clothes, and jewelry purchases. I've been to other noble households. This is extravagant, truly extravagant. It's only because she's the only woman in the entire back courtyard. And Ni Hanshan isn't extravagant himself that this can even be maintained. Hupo grew up with me. She knows how to read and write. When she sees this ledger, her jaw drops. She exclaims, just how precious is she, spending this much money among. Steward Zhang standing before me looks embarrassed. He watches me hopefully. I rub my throbbing temples. From what the steward just said, he's not happy about Concubine Lu's extravagance either. He just can't say much because of the prince. Madam, the Double Mint Festival is coming up. We should prepare gifts for the other households. Follow whatever was done in previous years. I've seen the steward's lists from past years. They're appropriate. I don't want to put extra effort into this, so I say offendedly. But the steward looks troubled. What is it? I pick up my tea and take a sip. Madam, there's no money in the accounts. What do you mean no money? I can see there are 3,000 taels in the account. Income from the shops and estates won't arrive until 2 months from now. And those 3,000 taels still need to cover the household expenses for the next 2 months. Especially the side courtyard, it might not even be enough. Where did all the money go? Hupo can't help but ask. The wedding banquet and dowry cost a lot. The steward's vague answer makes me laugh. What? Does the steward think too much was spent? I wouldn't dare. It's just that there truly is no money left. The steward sighs, looking troubled. I frown, but I don't blame the steward. There's no money in the account, he's just stating facts. This problem isn't hard to solve. I just need to use my own money. Mother started preparing my dowry from the day I was born. It was already generous. Later, when she saw I was marrying into the prince's household, she made it even more lavish. You could say she prepared enough for my entire life. But having me use my dowry for Concubine Lu, that's just too much. And I can't do it. But this is the first important matter since I married into the prince's household. I can't just ignore it. I think for a moment, then call Hupo over and instruct her. Go get the bride price list and bring it to me. Hupo answers quietly and heads inside. I look carefully through the bride price list. Fine, since all of this came from the prince's household, then I'll use it for the prince's household. Once it's gone, I'm done managing. When the steward asks, I don't answer him. I just send him out. The next day, I have Hupo send over a sum of silver. The household accounts are flush again. 2 years pass like this. I gradually get used to life at the prince's residence. Calm and quiet. Perhaps keeping his promise to Concubine Lu, Ni Hanshan hasn't spent a single night in my quarters, since he only comes by now and then to have dinner with me and chat. I'm well educated. If we set aside our awkward marriage, You could even say we're kindred spirits. We often get lost in conversation. But no matter how pleasant the talk when evening comes, I still politely urge him to leave. Every time that happens, his expression always carries something strange I can't quite describe. I don't care at all. I just keep smiling calmly at him. And he never stays longer. Watching the scene, Hupo has sighed and tried to persuade me more than once. Miss, why do you keep doing this? I can tell the prince has wanted to spend the night here at our courtyard more than once. Are you really planning to stay alone your whole life? Haven't you heard what people are saying about you? By the end, there's even a sob in her voice. I'm at a loss for words, then turned to look at the fading twilight. Ni Hanshen's back was so resolute when he left. I know all about the gossip. At every holiday gathering or banquet, my arrival always draws wave after wave of knowing, mocking glances. And Tutor's daughter who once had the capital singing her praises is now just a decoration and housekeeper the northern prince was forced to marry. Women don't have the wide, open world that men do. This world isn't kind to women. Even as the Grand Tutor's daughter, I can't escape these rules. But I'm still unwilling. Miss Po. I call her name, turn around and cup her face, carefully wiping away her tears. I know you mean well, but from our wedding day, when he abandoned me, in front of everyone, I stopped expecting anything more from him. People have to live for themselves in the end. Let people say what they want. Even without him, haven't we been doing just fine? But, worth being cherished, worth being truly loved. I won't struggle for a man's occasional pity. I won't stoop to that. Hupo stares at the calm on my face, purses her lips, and can't find words to say. A moment later she made excuse about preparing dinner and practically runs off. I watch her go with a sigh, wondering if I should get a dog. To give her something to do so she won't overthink things. A few days later, the estate sends over a few chubby little puppies, along with a few newly weaned kittens. I pick an orange kitten with white paws, and let Hupo choose a puppy. Hupo holds the little white dog, grinning from ear to ear. I ask her what she wants to call it. She says with a smile, Miss, how about Wan Kai? The name's a bit tacky, but when I was little I had a doll I loved named Wan Kai. I smile, seeing her happy. I naturally agree. Alright, this cat's so chubby, let's call it Pang Pang. From now on these two are your responsibility. Okay. With the cat and dog around, Hupo has more to do and clearly nags less. No matter how generous the dowry, it can't withstand the endless demands from Fan Yan. Especially when they found out I was covering the costs, they came up with all kinds of excuses. I've mentioned it to Mai Hanshan a few times, since he doesn't care. I won't waste any more energy on it. If they want it, fine. It's not my money anyway. When the steward comes to tell me yet again that there's no money left, this time I don't have Hupo send over more soup. I just say casually, if there's no money in the accounts, then the whole household will have to tighten its belt, including Fan Yuan. Of course, except for concubine loose medicine, everything else cut where you can. Understood. The steward hesitates, but what about the prince? I'll inform the prince, you don't need to worry. Hearing my words, the steward seems relieved, his face brightening with more smiles. As he leaves, his steps are lighter, like he's ready to get down to business. I can tell the stewards probably wanted to do this for a while, but couldn't. Hupo is off to the side playing with. I call her over. Go get all the account books from the past 2 years. Especially the one we kept separately for Fan Yuan. Yes. Hupo's eyes crinkle with a sly smile. When we first kept that book, she was probably already looking forward to this moment. Some days later I'm sitting in a long chair inside, draped with a thin snow fox blanket, dozing. After Kung Lu at Fan Yuan is on death's door yet again. Ni Hanshan storms in, fuming. Behind him follows the sobbing Mama Zhao. Here they come. I hear the door bang open. Lazily, I sit up and look at the two of them. Ni Hanshan's face is like ice. He demands, Concubine Liu is gravely ill. Why did you cut off her courtyard supplies? I glance at the gloating look on Mama Zhao's face. Over these 2 years, probably feeling she can control me, woman at Fan Yuan has gradually shown her true colors. She's gotten more and more brazen around me. That's when I realized she has 2 faces. In front of Ni Hanshan she's weak, helpless, fragile as a flower. Around me, she's full of energy, nothing like someone frail and sickly. She's even mocked me in private more than once. So what if I'm the legitimate wife? I'm still sleeping alone. I smile and say nothing, not telling Ni Hanshan any of this. I'm looking forward to the day he discovers what his beloved is really like and how he'll feel. Facing Ni Hanshan's interrogation, I lazily pull off the snow fox blanket from my lap and say calmly, there's no money in the accounts. Madam, I beg you, please have mercy on the concubine. Mama Zhou drops to her knees with a thud, tears falling like they're free. Now it's freezing cold. The concubine's health is already. It's even harder on her. Without supplies, she might not survive the winter. Hearing Mama Zhao turn the tables on me, I raise an eyebrow. But I don't get angry, I just watch her performance calmly. Na Hanshan stares at me coldly. Doesn't the lady have an explanation? I have an explanation, of course. Your Highness, listen carefully. There's still over 3,000 taels of silver in the accounts. But that's for the entire house winter expenses. New Year's coming. Don't the servants need winter clothes? Don't they need to eat? And the New Year's gifts for the other households, don't those need to be prepared? You don't run a household, you don't know how expensive things are, I don't blame you. But surely there's enough for medicine. Don't rush, Your Highness. Let me explain. Hupo, bring out the account books. I stand up and look him straight in the eye. Hupo responds, walks into the room smiling, opens a trunk, and takes out the account books we prepared in advance. Zhao one for Fan Yuan and say with a smile, Mama Zhao here is begging for mercy, claiming I've mistreated concubine Lu. Let's see exactly how I mistreated her. Let's look at last month, November 1st. Withdrew 150 taels cash to purchase 2 blue and white porcelain vases. November 3rd, summoned seamstress Lu Xunian, ordered a new fox fur coat and several brocade dresses, total of 850 taels. November 4th, purchased 5 pounds of premium blood swan nest 150 tael. With every line I read, Mama Zhao's face goes a shade paler. By the end, I'm tired of reading, so I just hand the book to Nai Hanshan to look through himself. Here are the previous ones too, Your Highness. Feel free to look. I never cut off concubine Lu's medicine. I'm just curious. What kind of supplies concubine Lu needs to survive? New clothes every month, every year. The jewelry shops in the capital are regular guests at the Prince's Manor. Not to mention Fan Yin requires 10 pounds of pork daily, 5 live chickens, fresh fish and premium provisions. How does concubine Lu, with such a delicate constitution, manage to eat all that? I only cut the new clothes and jewelry, reduced the food expenses a bit, and Mama Zhao comes rushing over crying and accusing me. Why is that? I guess without these things, concubine Lu can't survive. At this point, I look at Na Hanshan's livid face and continue with a smile. I know Your Highness cares deeply for concubine Lu, but this whole household still has to eat. If you insist, either you bring money back, or I'm not fit to manage this household. Please grant me a divorce. Without me, there'll be fewer expenses. Na Hanshan's face is frozen. He says nothing, silently flipping through the account book page by page, then examining the other records. Mama Zhao's legs are trembling. I don't want to see what comes next. I just take Hupo and walk out. Mater, I see Ni Hanshan have someone take the account books and storm out, dragging the limp Mama Zhao behind him. Go get the keys to the household storeroom and send them to the prince. Ha, Hupo lets out a surprised sound. I look at her blankly. If I don't hand them over now, when should I? So am I really using my dowry to support the prince's household? This is the perfect opportunity. I can shed this burden. From now on, my dowry only covers our courtyard. Oh, okay, Hupo says with a grin. 4. The keys were sent over, and a few days later Ni Hanshan personally returned them. I hold a cup of tea, sitting properly at the table. I push the keys on the table back toward him. What does Your Highness mean by this? Lady, this matter was my fault. I've dealt with everyone at Fan Yuan. I must trouble you to continue managing the household. I take a sip of tea, without a word, but inside I'm full of scorn. What do you mean by dealt with? You scolded concubine Lu a few times. But it's not my money anyway. I lack the talent and learning to manage this household. I'm afraid I might neglect concubine Lu. If concubine Lu suffers because of insufficient supplies, I can't bear the responsibility. Please reconsider, Your Highness. Lady Na Hanshan says helplessly. I've thoroughly cleaned out Fan Yuan. I'm sure nothing like this will trouble you again. I laugh lightly. Who are you kidding with that? Who do you think is stupid? That's your precious darling. You give her the stars if not the moon. When it really comes down to it, will your heart ever lean toward me? But I expected Ni Hanshan to come back. I look at the steward standing to the side. Before I entered this household, I heard concubine Lu managed everything. How about this? We separate Fan Yuan from the rest of the household. Give a third of the household's finances to concubine Lu to manage herself. I haven't been taking good care of things. Mama Zhao cares so much for her mistress. I'm sure she'll do better. What do you think, Your Highness? No. What will people say about you? I don't care. Besides, the gossip can't get any worse. If Your Highness truly cares about me, you'd be better off just agreeing. My tone is cold. I look away, not bothering to look at him anymore. Nai Hanshan falls silent. I know I've wronged you. Since you know you've wronged me, why keep this up? I ask coldly if there's not enough money. Am I supposed to cover it with my own funds? Does the Shu family owe the Northern Prince's manor something? I think I've done more than enough as the legitimate wife. This whole thing is disgraceful. It'll only make people laugh. I've already reprimanded concubine Lu. From now on, she won't be as extravagant as before. As for what you've contributed, I'll reimburse you fully. No need, just agree to my request, Your Highness. I refuse to budge. Suddenly there are gasps and shouts outside. It's concubine Lu. The maids are afraid of hurting her and can't stop her. She barges right in. As soon as she enters, she collapses to the floor in tears, kneeling deeply. Your Highness. Princess, this is all my fault. Please, Your Highness. Princess, for the sake of Mama Zhao serving me since childhood, please forgive Mama Zhao. Nai Hanshan's face turns ashen. Shenzi snort coldly and raise my hand. Come on, help concubine Lu up quick. It's freezing out. Don't let her catch cold. The attending maids drag them out and give them 30 slaps each. How are you taking care of the concubine? Why didn't you put a coat on her before she went out? If she gets sick, the concubine suffers and Your Highness worries. Concubine Lu's wearing a thin white cotton dress, her hair disheveled, looking completely ill. Right now the north wind is howling outside. Standing in the corridor, anyone would start shivering in no time. I expose concubine Lu's scheme with a few words. She looks up and glares at me with hateful eyes. It vanishes quickly, then she looks pitiful again. She turns and grabs hold of the maid being dragged away, urgently pleading. It's all my fault for being in such a hurry and forgetting. It's my fault. Please forgive Xiaohuan, princess. Xiaohuan's face was white as a sheet, totally drained. I didn't say anything, just looked at Ni Hanshan. Disappointment flashed in Ni Hanshan's eyes. He said coldly, help concubine Lu up, take her back, and take Xiao Huan away. And concubine Lu looked at Ni Hanshan in disbelief. Her voice trembled as she called out, Your Highness. Ni Hanshan glanced at her. Hurry up. I waved my hand, giving the signal. Concubine Lu seemed frozen in shock. She barely arrived before being dragged out. After everyone left, the room went quiet. I poured a cup of water and handed it to Ni Hanshan. Your Highness, still so stubborn. Ni Hanshan took the cup, his eyes full of sadness. Seeing this, I stopped hiding it. I spoke bluntly, Your Highness is a smart man. You must understand why concubine Lu acts this way. A woman's jealousy can't be fixed. No matter how concubine Lu and I pretend to get along, we're still fundamentally opposed. So concubine Lu won't keep getting sick. Your Highness should just agree. I'm sorry, Ni Hanshan said quietly. I turned my head away silent. Too many apologies, it's disgusting. After that, Fan Garden's finances were completely separated from the manor. Ni Hanshan sent his own trusted aide to look after things. Without Fan Garden burning through cash, the manor's expenses finally got back to normal. A maid came to report. Without support from the manor, concubine Lu started a silk business on the side, using the manor's influence. It's doing great. I didn't care. I stayed quietly in my own courtyard. 4 more years slipped by. During those 4 years, the Shangyu at the border kept causing trouble. Ni Hanshan, as the great general of the north, was stationed at the border year-round. He only spent 2 or 3 months a year in the capital. 6 years married, still no children. I endured endless gossip around the capital. As for concubine Lu, though she was pampered, she also seemed unable to have children because of her health. The Empress Dowager kept summoning me to the palace, gently, to hurry up and give Ni Hanshan a child. The Nai family has served loyally for generations, now he's the only one left. The Empress Dowager is his aunt, of course she were. That's why she arranged our marriage personally back then. She just never expected things between him and me would turn out like this. On the battlefield, swords have no eyes. The Empress Dowager feared the Nai line would die out. Wei Wei, still fighting with Hanshan. The Empress Dowager held my hand, patting it gently, her eyes full of kindness. I lowered my head. Wei Wei wouldn't dare. You've been married 6 years, still no children. What can be done? His Highness is so busy with affairs, perhaps he hasn't had time yet. My fate is shallow. In this life, His Highness and I don't have that kind of connection. What connection? Feelings between husband and wife are built over time. I know you've suffered these years. I feel for you too. The Empress Dowager sighed. Hanshan lost his parents young. He joined the army so early. He's always been stubborn, never understood women's feelings. Don't hold it against him. Wei Wei wouldn't dare. But what His Highness needs isn't me. Some things just can't be forced. I looked up, hinting at something. I really didn't want to. I always felt the child was proof of love between husband and wife. Ni Hanshan and I have no feelings. Why struggle with it? Besides, if there was a child, I'd probably fall into endless trouble. But I couldn't say that. I could only push it down to Ni Hanshan. The Empress Dowager must know the situation between him and me. She didn't say much. But I never expected an imperial decree to come down, sending me to the frontier to take care of His Highness. While packing, Hu Po kept sighing. The border was harsh and dangerous, with constant fighting. Not a good place at all. But I was kind of excited. Getting to leave this boring manor and see the world wasn't a bad thing. Even if it meant being with Ni Hanshan day and night, it didn't seem so unbearable. The day we left, the weather was beautiful. My brother came on horseback to see me out. Wei Wei, be careful once you're there. Don't go wandering around, okay? I know, brother, you and father and mother have already told me 1,000 times. I know. I stuck my head out of the carriage, exasperated. Once you're there, don't fight with His Highness. The battlefield is dangerous. He's already working so hard. No matter what, father and mother hope you two can have some feelings for each other. That's not right, brother. When have I ever fought with him? Haven't we been getting along fine these past years? My brother sighed and glared at me. You think people can't see through you? You and His Highness look like a couple on the surface, but you're actually very distant. Wei Wei, I know you're upset. But you'll be with him for life. Are you really planning to spend your whole life alone in that little courtyard? Use this chance to get along with His Highness. He's not heartless. I pressed my lips together. Lately, lots of people have been telling me that if I just take the initiative, everything will work out. I'm not so sure about that. Hanshan is a good man. He's not like other men with their multiple wives and concubines. He said one life, one love, and he's kept his promise. Being loved by him would be a blessing. But not being loved is misfortune. I expected this fate when I married in. It's not something I can change. To avoid more nagging, I smiled and said yes. The carriage bumped along for over a month. We finally reached the border. North, colder, colder. By the time we reached Tengyang City, where Ni Hanshan was stationed, I'd already put on a thick silver fox fur cloak, but when I got out of the carriage, the cold wind still stung my eyes. Ni Hanshan got word ahead of time and came to meet me himself. He reached out, grabbed my arm, and pulled me through the gate. A bunch of his men who'd fought with him for years were teasing and calling out sister-in-law. I wasn't a stranger to them. When they returned to the capital, I was usually the one who welcomed them. Over these years, Ni Hanshan and I weren't on bad terms, but not exactly good either. We were more like friends who got along well. Inside there were coal braziers burning. It was warm and cozy, A woman in blue cloth came up with a cup of hot tea. Madam, Ni Hanshan said, this is Auntie Wang, she's local. If you need anything, just ask her. Good, have someone put my things away first. New Year's is almost here. Let's have a good meal tonight. I smiled. Fresh arrival in a strange place, but I didn't feel uncomfortable at all. After sitting and resting a bit, I started organizing the household. Nai Hanshan stayed with me for a while, then military business called him away. He didn't come back until evening. I had them prepare a steaming hot pot. Nai Hanshan ate with his brothers in the front courtyard. It was lively. Hu Po and I ate in the back room. I sent the other servants away. Miss, this lamb is so good. Northern mountain lamb is a tribute item. The meat's tender and has no gamey taste. If you like it, eat more. I stuffed a piece of lamb in my mouth. It was so good my eyes crinkled. That's when Ni Hanshan came in. Hu Po saw him and jumped up. The sesame sauce was still on her mouth. Your Highness. I looked at him slowly. That was fast. There's a curfew at the camp. It's a long way back from here. Are you full? Want some more? I gestured with my chopsticks. Ni Hanshan didn't refuse. He sat right down at the table. I waved my hand and had Hu Po bring out a fresh pot. Na Hanshan picked up his chopsticks and ate slowly. How's mother? I heard she caught a cold a while back. She's completely recovered. The maids took good care of her. She can already walk around the garden now. That's good. I picked up a piece of radish. How are you doing at the border, Your Highness? Ni Hanshan looked up at me. At a time like this, you really shouldn't have come. Winter's already freezing cold. The Shangnu on the grasslands don't have winter supplies of furs. They raid south constantly. The border's harsh and there's nothing fun about it. Have the Shangnu been raiding a lot lately? Not too much yet. It's not the worst time. Next month when winter really hits and the snow starts falling, that's when they'll make their move. Nai Hanshan lowered his eyes. He spoke calmly, but his voice had a cold edge. As the general guarding the border, he carried a heavy burden. I know I shouldn't have come now, but the Empress Dowager commanded it. I couldn't refuse. If you think about it, Your Highness hasn't been back to the capital for New Year's in 2 years. The Empress Dowager misses you. Looks like you can't make it back this year either. She worried you weren't eating or living well at the border. That's why she sent me. Though the Empress Dowager's intentions were definitely more than that. Since she didn't say it directly, I was happy to play dumb. You're living at the border. It's not like the capital. Just take care of yourself. Don't get sick. Wan Hanshan scooped up a bowl of lamb soup and drank it in one go. A thin layer of sweat appeared on his nose. Yes, I understand. Your Highness worked so hard. By the time the food was cleared away, it was late at night. Po had water ready in the side room. I went to wash up. Before long, I heard noise outside. The sound was faint, like it came from far away, shouting and yelling, really creepy. Hu Po! Hu Po! What's going on? I got up from the tub and turned toward the window, calling out. Hu Po didn't answer, but that woman called Auntie Wang appeared at the bathhouse door. No need to panic, madam. It's the Shangnu from the north raiding south again. His Highness has already gone to camp. Don't worry, they can't break through. After hearing that, I sat back down in the tub. It was so cold, I'd only left the warm water for a moment and my skin already felt frozen. Does this happen a lot? Not that often, maybe 2 or 3 times a month. With the Northern Army here, there's nothing to worry about, madam. Do you need more hot water? Yes, please. I sank down into my hair. They added hot water again. After I finished my bath, Hu Po handed me a soft cotton towel. I dried off and wrapped myself in a cotton robe, then crawled straight into bed. The room had coal burning, but compared to the capital, the northern frontier's bone-chilling cold was even worse. Hu Po, where did you go just now? I kept calling and you weren't there. Xiaojie Po handed me a cup of hot water to hold, miss. I heard the noise outside and rushed to find out what was happening. Don't be scared, miss, it's fine. His Highness has already gone. The city's safe. Those Shangnu can't get in. Okay, I took a sip of hot water and nodded. Then I asked, will he come back? Probably not. I heard from the maids here that when this happens, His Highness usually stays at camp. It's because His Highness is there that people in the city can sleep peacefully. Okay, I lowered my eyes and handed the cup back. Alright, Hu Po, it's late. Get some rest. Miss, should I stay with you tonight? Hu Po hesitated, then asked. No need. I shook my head and looked around. The room was big but simply furnished. A table, 4 squills, a desk and bookshelf against the wall. The bookshelf was packed with all kinds of books. Next to it, a large blue and white vase held several swords. A cabinet stood beside it. Nothing else. A world away from the capital's luxury. Na Hanshan had lived here for 10 years. Ice water, but his passion never cooled. You can go. I insisted, so Hu Po finally left. As she was leaving, she said quickly, Miss, I'll be right outside, call me if you need anything. No need, go sleep. After she left, I put on thick cotton slippers, wrapped my robe around me, got out of bed, and walked to the bookshelf. I've always loved books, even at home. Seeing this full bookshelf now, I was naturally pretty happy. Ni Hanshan agreed to let me stay here. He didn't mind me reading either. Most of the books on the shelf were military strategy and tactics. A smaller part covered farming and water conservation. There were also poetry collections, travel. I randomly pulled out a book and flipped it open. A dried, flattened little flower fell out from the pages. I picked it up. The pale purple flower lay in my palm, delicate and lovely. I smiled gently and placed the little flower back inside. I kept reading. It was a book about military strategy. The content should have been incredibly dry, but the author cleverly used lots of little stories to connect everything, so it wasn't boring at all. There were also quite a few notes from Ni Hanshan in the margin. Compared to his serious, cold exterior, his personality in the book seemed much more lively and cute. You could tell these were written when he was young. The handwriting was a bit childish. At the end of the book, I noticed a line of deeply pressed words. I wish to dedicate my life to protecting the great Xia, so the people may live in peace and prosperity forever. Onway. I gently traced the words of my fingers. The writing was pressed deep into the page. You could sense the emotion of the person who wrote them. The Ni family has always been full of loyal patriots paving this peaceful era with their blood. Now Hanshan, as the last heir of the Ni family, lives up to his ancestors' legacy. Half of the great Xia's current stability comes from his battles and defense. He's a blood-stained god of death in the eyes of the Shangnu, and also the renowned northern protector king of the great Xia. A young woman's heart stirs easily. Who wouldn't admire a hero? Before the arranged marriage, hearing so many legends about him, I have to admit, like everyone else, my heart was moved. Unfortunately, he's a good man, but not the right match for me. I can't even bring myself to ask for a divorce. Then, His Majesty dismissed father's petition with just one sentence. Yishan is alone. He's the only one left of the Nifei. Do you still remember the life-saving grace of old General Nai? Father was speechless and couldn't say more. I only found out later. When he was young, father was sent to serve at the border and was surrounded by the Shangnu. Old General Mi led his men to break through and rescued father. But the old general was wounded several times in the process, damaging his health. His later death might well have been because of this. Now I'm repaying that debt. Thinking of the Empress Dowager's expectations, my head aches. Standing by the window, the sky was clear tonight, the moon still bright. Being in the northern frontier didn't seem much different from the capital, but there was definitely something subtly different. A sleepless night. Hanshan went to the military camp and didn't come back. I heard from the servants. Ni Hanshan led his team and captured over 100 Shishangnu heading south. Apparently there was even some important figure among them like a prince. They're all locked up in the city prison now. He'll probably be busy for days. None of this is my concern. After spending a day sorting out the household affairs, the next day I took Yupo and left the estate. The northern frontier has a bold culture, unlike the capital ladies who never leave their homes. Women going out and doing business isn't unusual here. I took off my veil and walked openly down the street with Yupo and Aunt Wan. The streets were bustling and lively. You could see the happiness and peace on their faces. Steaming lamb buns gave off an oily, fragrant aroma soaked into the dough. They looked delicious. I pulled Hugo over to get in line, listening to everyone in the crowd discussing Ni Hanshan and the Shangnu incident from the other night. The people of Henyang City spoke with admiration and respect for Ni Hanshan, sharing in his glory. Hupo's eyes sparkled as she tugged at my sleeve. Her chin held high no matter what anyone said. Now Hanshan's achievements were definitely worth being proud of. When it was our turn, Hupo ordered 3 lamb buns. The vendor glanced at us and kept stuffing 7 or 8 buns into the bag, filling it until it couldn't hold anymore before handing it to Hupo. Hupo's eyes went wide. She clutched the bag, looking flustered. She snapped. What are you doing? Forcing us to buy more? We only wanted 3. Why are you giving me so many? No. The young vendor panicked. He waved his hands frantically. These buns are free. They're free. Free, I asked, surprised. Why? Ma'am, are you from the Northern Protector's estate? Are you the king's wife? Yes. Then there's no problem at all. The young man smiled. Mom, it's my honor to have you eat my buns. If it weren't for his lordship and the Northern Army here in Henyang City, who knows what those Shangnu would have done to us. I can't take your money. Welcome to Henyang City. I smiled helplessly. This won't do. You're running a small business. I can't let you lose money. Hupo finally understood what was happening and quickly reached for her money pouch. People around who hadn't understood at first now heard the vendor's words and gathered around. Their eyes fixed on me with warmth. I'd rarely been looked at like this. I felt uncomfortable. Aunt Wan and Hupo quickly moved to shield me. The young women and aunts who came closer now began warmly urging me. So this is the princess. She's so beautiful. Look at that skin, so fair and smooth. Princess, please accept it. How could we take your money? Please accept it, princess. The warmth from the people around exceeded my expectations. I could see other vendors packing up their goods and coming over to give me what they considered their best food. Their faces were full of. Their actions had nothing to do with flattery or wanting something from me. It was only gratitude. In that moment, I finally understood just how beloved Ni Hanshan is in Henyang City. Hupo and Aunt Wang's arms were nearly overflowing with gifts. Luckily, Aunt Wang had experience and had people secretly follow us, which saved us. I was surrounded by guards in the middle. Looking at all those simple, warm faces around me, I straightened my skirt solemnly and called out loudly, "Everyone, please don't push. Watch out for the children. Stay safe." Seeing the crowd still chaotic, I raised my voice again. "Everyone, quiet please. Can you let me say a few words?" Hupo helped me call out too. After a few minutes, the crowd finally quieted down. a group of people stared at me with sincere, fervent eyes. I cleared my throat, calmed my flustered emotions, and spoke steadily. Your gratitude and respect for his lordship, I understand. Accept your kindness on behalf of my husband, but please take back your gift. Protecting our homeland is a soldier's duty. It's also because of your support that our great Shah can keep enemies at bay. I'm grateful for everyone's support on behalf of my husband. I thank you all. With that, I placed my hands at my waist and bowed gracefully. Suddenly, cheers erupted from the crowd. Along with the sound of horse hooves, everyone turned to look. Ni Hanshan rode up slowly on his tall horse from the distance. The northern pretend. His lordship is here. I looked over and saw him arrive. I breathed a sigh of relief. Ni Hanshan dismounted smoothly, gave a few instructions to the guards, then walked toward me. The crowd parted down the middle. I appreciate everyone's kindness. I accept it. You can all go now. Don't scare my wife. The weather's nice today. Don't all crowd around here. After Ni Hanshan spoke, he took my hand and led me all the way to his horse, Bixu. This was Ni Hanshan's beloved horse. He rarely let anyone touch it. On its head and looked at me with big eyes, nuzzling me with its nose. I patted its head. The next second, I felt my body lighten as Ni Hanshan lifted me onto the horse. A moment later, he swung up behind me, wrapped his arm around my waist and urged the horse forward. I was startled. Teasing laughter burst out around us. Men and women riding together like this would be absolutely forbidden in the capital. But here in the northern frontier, it didn't seem unusual at all. Don't be scared. They mean no harm. Ni Hanshan's low voice sounded by my ear. I know, they're just curious about me. I smoothed my messy skirt and shifted forward, trying to keep some distance from him. But the horse's back wasn't very big. No matter how much I tried, I could still feel the warmth from his body. Even though we were married, I'd never been this close to a man before. My face turned red. 6. Finally we reached the estate gates. Ni Hanshan helped me down from the horse. I quickly stepped back a few paces, nervously tucking my hair behind my ear. Thank you. He didn't react much, just tossed the reins to the guard behind him. I'm hungry. Is there food? I want dumplings. Right away, I quickly answered. Ni Hanshan didn't like being served. There were hardly any servants in the estate. Ang Wan, who usually handled meals, was left far behind. I didn't bring many people with me, either. Hupo was fast on her feet. She rushed back but was still out of breath. I put on an apron and gave her a small stool, having her sit and help wash vegetables while I kneaded the dough. All the young ladies in the capital had servants to wait on them. They didn't need to cook. Many even considered cooking shameful, thinking the smoky air would damage their well-maintained complexions. But my family was different. Mother loved to cook, especially for father. She said she loved seeing father eat what she made. It made her happy. As a child, I'd lean against the stove, watching mother's face flush from the heat. I thought she looked more beautiful then than when she was dressed in jewels. Miss, it's done, Hupo said after resting a bit. Good. Help me chop the filling. The boarder had lots of lamb. I figured he was probably tired of it. So I also took out some pork and mixed it with cabbage for different flavors. I used lamb bone broth as the base. By the time the dumplings were done, half an hour had passed. I brought them over with Hupo. Now Hanshan was resting in his bedroom, still fully clothed. When I came in, he was still asleep. Hupo set the steaming dumplings on the table. I waved my hand, signaling her to leave. Hupo looked at me with concern, but didn't say anything and left obediently. I walked over and stood by the bed, gazing at his tired face. His features were the same, but he seemed worn down, with light stubble on his chin and dark circles under his eyes. You could tell he hadn't rested much these past few days. There were so many unspeakable things between us. Many in the capital thought he'd wronged me, but right now I couldn't find it in me to blame or resent him. I and so many people across the Great Shao could live peacefully at home, because someone stood before us, shielding us from danger. I lowered my eyes and gently shook his shoulder. Your lordship, the dumplings are ready. The person on the bed slowly opened his eyes, still hazy at first, but then immediately clear. Ah, okay. He propped himself up and sat up. He glanced up and saw the steaming dumplings on the table. He walked over, popped one in his mouth with chopsticks and looked at me. You made these? I nodded. Back in the capital, we'd celebrated New Year together. I'd cooked them too, besides what I sent to my parents. The rest went into his stomach. He didn't like waste, I knew that. I ladled him a bowl of hot lamb bone and radish soup. I heard you called an important person. How's that going? Yeah, it's Wang Yan's most favored youngest son, Zhu She. Word's already been sent to the capital by express. Stay alert at home these next few days. I've sent guards to watch the compound. If you need anything, you can ask them. Wang Yan might make a move. I understand. I nodded. Knowing Ni Hanshan could eat a lot, I'd made plenty of dumplings. I picked up my chopsticks and ate slowly alongside him. Thank you for all that. It's not it. I hope everyone in Hunyang City can have a good New Year this year. Ni Hanshan rubbed his brow, his tone carrying a rare note of wariness. That depends on what kind of deal His Majesty can strike with Wang Yan in the end. How much this man called Zhu She really means to him. I picked up a dumpling with my chopsticks and placed it in his bowl. The Xiongnu are different. Every Khan climbs to power over his brother's skulls. For them, honor and shame don't seem to exist. It's survival of the fittest, winner takes all. I'm not optimistic, Ni Hanshan shook his head. We call ourselves civilized, but we're just wearing a disguise. I said with a sneer. Hanshan paused, raised his voice slightly, speaking carefully. Only then did I realize I'd spoken out of turn. My eyes flickered. But a moment later, I still looked up at him in a daze. You can say it in front of me but never breathe a word of it outside. Ni Hanshan frowned, looking at me. Got it. I lowered my head. He paused, his expression grew complicated. After a moment of silence, he said, Wei, don't worry. I've wronged you in many ways. But as long as I'm alive, I'll keep you and the Shu family safe. I steadied myself, pressed my lips together, my eyes softened. I believe you, thank you, my lord. Ni Hanshan said nothing more. He quickly finished the rest of the dumplings, went straight to the bathroom to wash up. Soon he was fast asleep in bed. I watched him for a while, tucked the blanket around him, then left. Over the years, we weren't husband and wife, but we were friends. Everyone says the Xiongnu path to power is savage and brutal. But how much blood stains that supreme throne of the great Xia dynasty. His Majesty's poor health lately isn't a secret. And the princes beneath him are all getting restless. And my father, as the crown prince's grand tutor, naturally put aside, caught in the storm, unable to break free. And father's lifelong loyalty to the throne means he can't retreat. Thinking about it now, His Majesty insisting I marry Ni Hanshan might have been paving the way for the crown prince. The princess consort of the northern pacification prince, I naturally tied Ni Hanshan to the crown prince's chariot. Those holding the guns always carry more weight than others. The invincible northern pacification army is Ni Hanshan's force. They only answer to him. It's an abnormal situation. But it survived because of this awkward arrangement. Maybe His Majesty chose me, in a way, because he saw through me and Ni Hanshan's natures. One unwilling to submit, the other unwilling to force. The Nai family might end with Ni Hanshan, with no heirs. 7. Ni Hanshan didn't stay at the manor long before returning to the barracks, only coming back for a few days now and then. Worried I'd be bored at the manor. Many officers' wives came to visit, one after another. They're all from the northern frontier, straightforward and generous by nature. At first things were a bit stiff, but once we got to know each other, they all relaxed, and I got along well with them. Nan frontier is harsh and cold, there's not much to do here. Staying at the manor too long gets boring. But these boring days aren't necessarily bad. One day, the ladies and I were doing needlework at the manor. I was holding a pair of unfinished new shoes I was making for Ni Hanshan. Everyone else was doing it, I couldn't break with custom. While embroidering, panic shouts came from outside. Before I could ask, Amber rushed in. Out of breath, she said, something's happened. Calm down. What is it? My heart sank. I snapped at her. Amber's been with me all these years, except for that year I had a high fever. I'd rarely seen such fear and panic on her face. The prince, something happened to the prince. Amber's tearful voice echoed through the room. I stood up, slammed the new shoes on the table, steadied her. From her broken words, I pieced together the full picture. Word came from the palace to escort Wang Yan's most favored youngest son, Zhu back to the capital for trial. Today was the departure date, Ni Hanshan said. Somehow the news leaked. Hundreds of Xiongnu ambushed them midway to rescue the prisoner. Those who escaped said blood was everywhere. The barracks sent people to search. His fate is unknown now. Some of the ladies' husbands were there too. After hearing this, Song collapsed to the floor in panic, eyes wild, at a loss. I took a deep breath, clenched my fists, forced myself to stay calm. Princess consort, what do we do now? Don't panic, we have to have faith in the prince and the others. It'll be fine, we can't fall apart here, I said firmly, and had someone help the lady who'd fallen out. I looked at Amber, gritted my teeth, and asked, how many people know about this? Amber wiped the tears from her face. I don't know. Get Mama Wang to see me. Before I finished, Mama Wang appeared from outside. Madam. Right now, only a few officers at the barracks know. Other than that, just the people here at the manor. I see. Lock down the news until we know the truth about the prince. We can't cause panic among the citizens. Also, have the soldiers at the city gates tighten screening of those coming and going. If necessary, seal the gates. Don't let spies spread rumors in the city and cause chaos. Yes, Mama Wang answered briskly. I turned to the ladies in the room. First, I smiled and reassured them. Then I stared into their eyes and instructed them. The prince and the officers they just had to travel for a few days on urgent business. I hope all of you ladies will keep the big picture in mind. None of the ladies here were fools. And northern frontier women have always been strong. Earlier they were just panicking out of worry. Now, having calmed down, they gritted their teeth and nodded. Maybe, because I didn't love him much, I was the fastest to calm down. Also, something happened to Ni Hanshan. This is really sad. After seeing off the ladies, I sat alone in my room for a long time. Until Amber knocked on the door outside. Miss, time to eat. No matter what, life goes on. Just a few days ago, Ni Hanshan and I were discussing how to celebrate New Year here in the northern frontier. Who knew something would happen now? I shook my head, pushed all those messy thoughts out of my mind. What I need to focus on now isn't any of that. I went out, forced myself to finish eating. Then sent Mama Wang out to gather information. Late at night, the news wasn't good. People from the barracks found the prince's broken sword by the river. There were large bloodstains by the river as if he was wounded, but had to jump in the river to survive. Never mind the wounds. Just entering an icy river in the dead of winter, even if you don't, you'll barely survive. Amber was anxious, keeping me company in the room. I rummaged through the room, found 2 daggers, pressed one into her hand. When Amber took the dagger, her hand was shaking. Miss. I glanced at her, tucked the other one into my sleeve. Things aren't safe now, keep it for protection. If things really get to the point of no return. Amber's face went white, but she nodded firmly. Her voice trembling, she said, I understand. Seeing how scared she was, I couldn't help but hug her. Amber, don't be afraid. Things might not get that bad. We still have to have faith in the prince. After all, he's been fighting the Shangyu at the border for so many years. He's not that simple. All we can do is help him stabilize things here. I patted her back, comforting her and comforting myself. I don't know when, but news of Ni Hanshan's ambush leaked out. No wall is airtight. The situation escalated. City officials tried to deny it repeatedly. But the fact is Ni Hanshan hasn't appeared in a long time. Morale at the barracks is shaky. Meanwhile, the Shangnu outside the city started getting restless too. Day and night, they spread news that Ni Hanshan was dead. To the northern frontier people, Ni Hanshan was like the sky, and now the sky had fallen. I snuck out to see for myself. Most people on the streets looked grief-stricken and terrified. On one hand, they refused to believe Ni Hanshan was dead. On the other, they couldn't help but doubt. I once saw a traveling merchant get beaten by northern frontier folk in a tavern for speaking out of turn. People's emotions were like a woodpile doused in oil. It only takes one spark to ignite them. No one knows when that day will come. Miss, someone from the capital is here, waiting for you at the manor, Amber said in a low voice. I see. I nodded and headed back to the carriage. 8. The visitor wasn't a stranger, it was Director He, a trusted aide of the Empress Dowager from the palace. Many times when I visited the Empress Dowager at the palace, he was the one who received me. Princess Consort, I've come on the Empress Dowager's orders to escort you back to the capital. Back to the capital? At a time like this, I sat in the main seat, frowning slightly. I waved my hand, signaling Amber to serve Director He tea. Our doesn't produce tea, and people here don't like drinking it. I'm not a tea lover either. I only brought a little when I came, and it was all used up entertaining guests. What's at the manor now was just bought from outside, the quality's average. Director He, a favorite of the Empress Dowager, is used to fine tea. Now he just barely touched his lips to it before setting it down. As expected, I didn't mind, just waited for Director He to speak. Yes, what happened to the prince is heartbreaking. The frontier isn't safe right now. Alger is very worried about your safety at the palace. Staying here at the frontier won't help matters. The heavy snow hasn't come yet, it's a good time to travel. Director See, that's not quite right. Though the prince's whereabouts are unknown, at the very least, we need to see him alive or see his body. Right now, Fuyang City is on edge. The Shangnu up north are watching closely, ready to march south any moment. If I, the Princess Consort of the Northern Pacification Prince, just sleep back up. What about all the people in the city? I shook my head in refusal. Princess Consort, now's not the time to be stubborn. You should think about your parents back in the capital. Director He, did you receive some news in private? I frowned, staring intently at him. Indeed, the atmosphere in the city hasn't been good these past days. There's a vague sense that a storm is coming. Well, he stammered. I was annoyed, but kept my face calm. At a time like this, Director He, are you still hiding things from me? He sighed, straightened his expression, and said, according to reliable sources, Wanyan is consolidating the Sangyu army, planning to march south in 5 days, to keep the people stable. This is top secret. Princess Consort, you should leave with me. I felt dazed for a moment, my heart pounded a dry. I could barely hold the teacup in my hand. I bit down hard on my tongue to steady myself. Nervously, I asked, is this true? It's true. Otherwise, why would I rush all the way here? Director He looked troubled. I lowered my eyes. Thank you for your trouble, Director. Then, Princess Consort, there's no time to waste. Pack your things and leave with me tomorrow. Director He stood up after speaking. I took a breath, raised my hand and called for Amber. Jersey has traveled a long way. Arrange for him to rest. Let me think this over for a moment. Probably seeing my pale face, he didn't insist further and followed Amber to the front courtyard to rest. After Amber saw him out, she turned and hurried back, looking unhappy. After closing the door, she said urgently, Miss, are we leaving? I pressed her down onto a stool, my face serious. I sipped some hot water slowly and shook my head. No. Why? War's about to break out. To put it bluntly, if something really happens, those barbarians don't care if you're a princess consort or not. Getting captured might be even worse than dying. Amber was frantic. Relax, it's not that serious. Even without Ni Hanshan, we have to trust the Northern Pacification. Besides, this whole thing is way too suspicious. Director, he's not young. He's lived comfortably in the palace all this time. Even if they were sending someone, it shouldn't be him. And the Empress Dowager doesn't really care that much about me, does she? If Ni Hanshan really died, knowing her, she'd probably want me to be buried with him. Why would she be kind enough to bring me back? I smiled slightly, my eyes darkened. Amber gasped, then why is he here? I don't know. For now, let's just keep him here. How do we keep him? Dragon is old and frail. The northern frontier is harsh and cold. I glanced at Hupo. Sure, it's a bit underhanded, but this unease inside me meant I had to do something. Hupo naturally understood what I meant, and nodded solemnly. Miss, do you think what Unity said about the Sangnu moving south is true? Colette, haven't you noticed the ladies visiting our estate way more often lately? Either way, better to be prepared. Can't hurt. I muttered quietly, the dagger hidden in my chest pressed painfully against my skin. The next day, Unity fell weakly ill in bed. From the Su people person, the return to the capital got delayed. Tang, Yibai, I had Mi Hanshan's men lock them all up. Maybe I was too good at pretending before, so nobody suspected I'd do something like this. But truth is, I would. I'm not some saint. I'll do anything to kill this anxiety inside me. The Xiongnu didn't attack 5 days after Unipi said. They delayed 2 days. By then, the main Zhangbei army got tricked away by false intel, leaving only a small force to guard the city. Vice General Wang reacted fast, kept the Xiongnu army from breaching the gates. But the price we paid was brutal. The North Quarter went up in flames. Doctors worked through the night trying to save people, cries everywhere. I never had military training, just glad I learned some medicine when I was young. So I rolled up my sleeves and joined the clinic to help save the wounded. Every able-bodied person in the city joined the defense, but there were too many wounded. Not enough doctors. I worked 3 days straight, barely rested, dizzy and about to collapse when someone caught me, helped me sit down. A cup of hot water appeared. I looked up. Madame Wang in red armor was staring at me with meaning. I figured you'd run. I forced a weak smile, looked at the wounded still being brought in, and laughed bitterly. Where would I go? Wasn't Unity supposed to escort you out? Oh, he's still bedridden. Won't be up for a month or 2. I said mockingly. It's not exactly a secret in the city anymore. Maybe because of this. I could clearly feel the way people looked at me had changed. More respect. Before, maybe it was because I was Ni Hanshen's wife. Now it's because of me. Guess they never imagined that when war broke out, this spoiled little miss from the capital wouldn't run, but would fight alongside them at the clinic. Madame Wang burst out laughing. Ruwei, you're something else. I'm calling you my friend. See, I knew Hanshan had good taste. I frowned slightly, surprised, but didn't get to ask more. The front needed reinforcements. Madame Wang heard the signal and rushed over. She came from a military family trained in martial arts, more useful fighting enemies than me. Zhang Shuodao Hupo quietly moved to my side, said carefully. What do we do? We're out of medicine. Enough for 3 days at most. When will the Zhangbei army get back? I felt dizzy, bit my tongue hard to stay awake. Shh, keep quiet, I'll figure something out later. 3 days later the Zhangbei army still hadn't returned, and the medicine in the city. Watching the wounded lying in the clinic, moaning, waiting to die, I gritted my teeth. Hupo, get people, come with me. Miss, where to? To get medicine. I pulled out the dagger from my chest. The blade caught the sunlight, cold and sharp. When they heard we were getting medicine, everyone at the clinic who could move followed me. Through Heiguang Boulevard, I led them to the He Estate. The back gates were shut. The red characters spelling He Estate above the gate were glaring. I squinted at it, had someone knock. The He Estate was a major fur trader in the city. Lots of their sons served in the Zhangbei army, but few knew the He Estate secretly partnered with Shan Bitang, running a medicine business. I knew because, before coming here, I used connections in the capital to check out the power structures on the frontier. Plus, Miss He was trying to butter me up back then. She and other ladies came to see me often, and I got it out of her. These past days the He Estate donated money and manpower, but I knew what they gave was just the tip of the iceberg. First, for second, if they don't cooperate, I'll just have to use shadier methods. Didn't take long knocking. The gatekeeper's head popped out, saw the scene, got a big shock, especially seeing me covered in blood and filth. His eyes went wide. Get Master He out here to see the princess consort. I didn't bother with her, just gave the order. From talking so much lately, my voice was hoarse. Had to strain to be heard. The gatekeeper didn't dare delay, scrambled inside. I waved my hand, had them push the gates open. Moments later, Master He rushed out disheveled, followed by his wife, concubines, and daughters. Didn't know the princess consort was coming, please forgive us. What brings the princess consort here with so many people? Nothing big, but important. The wounded in the city need medicine urgently. He can set an example for the wealthy families and donate some. Then have the wounded are waiting. I don't have time to waste with him. Just hoping he cooperates. Master He's face showed difficulty. Then forced the Bittersmouth princess consort. It's not that this old servant is unwilling, but the He family deals in fur, not medicine. We already sent over what little medicine we had. Truly can't help anymore. I laughed coldly, done with this. Waved my hand for them to search inside. People along the way heard I was getting medicine and kept joining in. Now there's a huge crowd outside the estate. Master He's face changed instantly, shouted, Princess consort, what's this? You raiding the place? Barging into a private home? The He family has bled and died for the northern frontier, lost countless sons. You're trying to break the hearts of the northern soldiers and people. At this, the people about to enter hesitated. I laughed hoarsely. Go ahead. Any punishment, the princess consort takes full responsibility. Then I looked at Master He with his wide eyes. Sneered. You're so-called bleeding and dying. You lost a few illegitimate sons. Haven't you made enough from military contracts over the years? We're all smart people. Drop the righteous act. Listen here, He Tian, if Hengyang City falls, you're first on my list. Hurry up. Every moment you waste, another person dies. Facing Master He's twisted face, I stopped looking at him. Just touch them on. The people hesitate no more, search thoroughly. Finally, under the threat of my blade, forced Master He's only son to reveal where the medicine was hidden. A massive stockpiles of medicine neatly arranged in the basement. Everyone was furious. They looked at the He family with disgust. Families of the wounded were red-eyed, ready to tear them apart. I stopped them. To keep Master He and his family from causing trouble, I had them locked up. A few bowls of rice gruel daily just to keep them barely alive. With this medicine, the clinic kept running. I wrote several letters, sent Hupo to deliver them to other wealthy families in the city. I didn't know their situations, but desperate times call for desperate measures. So I did it. A few days later, more medicine and grain were delivered. When Madame Wang came by, I was organizing the storeroom inventory. She looked at me with complicated. Wait, you're really bold. I looked back at the wound on her shoulder, still bleeding. My pen kept moving. Why wouldn't I be? Daughter of the Grand Tutor. Mother is the Minister of Revenue Control Finances. My husband is the General of Zhanbei, the renowned Prince of Zhanbei. Why would my dad? Did you think about how people will see you when you go back? The Princess Consort of Zhanbei abusing power extol. People won't care about your reasons. And those family you took from have deep roots in the firm for generations. Powerful connection. Madame Wen showed a bitter smile. I don't know how others will see me. I just know people are dying in this city every day. Wang Yangkai, you know what? I've never even seen a chicken killed my whole life. Now this is my first time seeing a real battlefield. The soldiers already shed blood, don't make them shed tears too. Compared to everything else, I think keeping them alive matters most. As for those wealthy families still hoarding medicine, what do you expect me to think? Huning City is under siege. Their actions are like working with the enemy. Otherwise I can't explain what they're doing. If the city falls, what good are medicine and food? I stared at her coldly. Slowly spoke my last words, or is it that without my Hanshan, you all are planning to run? Madame Wang's face went white for a moment, eyes flickered. After a pause, gave a bitter smile. Truly the celebrated daughter of the Grand Tutor, so sharp. I didn't rush to speak, just quietly waited for her to talk. The Zhanbei army isn't what it used to be. The Nai family now only has Hanshan left, and no hair. Hearing the word hair, I raised an eyebrow, slightly displeased. Madame Wang acted like she didn't notice, continued. Everyone has ambition and desire. When he's around, his reputation can still keep them in check. But now he's lost somewhere unknown, people's hearts scattered. The northern frontier's been at war constantly, the army split into war hawks and peace doves. Everyone wants a peaceful life without conflict. But it's always us northern frontier people suffering the displacement and losing loved ones. We could solve the Xiangyu problem once and for all. But His Majesty in the capital always pulls back at the last moment. You know why? Says the Ministry of Revenue is tight on no silver to spare. Ha ha ha, what a joke. Money for building palaces and throwing banquets but none for war. You know what? One palace banquet's extravagant expenses could feed a battalion of soldiers full meals for a whole month. Why? Why is it always us? Things that could be solved with silver, we have to spend generations fighting with our lives. While people in the capital enjoy their warm fires, complain about no fresh produce in winter. We northern frontier people can only chew on cold hard buns, and in the end, even that's called charity. How can our hearts be at peace? Spoke calmly. I could hear the deep exhaustion and grief in it. Remembering the capital's splendor and what I've seen here, I was speechless. Dongyi pat her shoulder. How are they any different from His Majesty? In the end, it's still the common people at the bottom who bear it all. You can stand here and tell me this today, but they can't. They can only lie on the ground looking at me with desperate eyes. Even if I could do it again, I'd do the same. I don't understand court politics, don't wanna. I just do what I can see right in front of me. Wang Yangkai, you've worked hard these days. Go rest. I called Hupo over to help her leave. Holding my pen, I stood silently in the storeroom for a long time. A drop of ink fell on the ledger, black as the night. Hengyang City can't hold much longer. The blood on the city walls dried and got wet again over and over. At first people still cleaned a bit. Now nobody has time for it. Anyone who could crawl went up to the walls. Bodies piled from the top down the stairs, Song knew, but mostly townsfolk. Broken swords stuck in the walls like scattered flowers. Firelight from the gates cast far, shouts deafening. At the clinic, Hupo grabbed my sleeve tightly, whispered urgently, "Miss, let's go. We've done more than enough." I turned around. The wounded wrapped in gauze at the clinic were all staring at me with wide eyes. Among them were kids who came to help because the clinic was so short-staffed. Hupo's voice wasn't loud, but it was too quiet right now. Everyone present heard it clearly. Princess, has the city fallen? A little boy in the crowd trembled as he asked, clinging to his mother's side. At this point, there was nothing left to hide. I nodded gently. Crying suddenly broke out in the crowd. My heart felt crushed, so heavy I could barely speak. The wounded soldiers lying on the ground were silent for a moment. Then, they suddenly struggled to stand up. They staggered over and grabbed the swords and blades set aside. Their freshly bandaged wounds instantly split open and bled. One of the older soldiers managed to give me a smile. Your Highness, you're the best princess I've ever met. You've done more than enough for us. Please, go. Yes, go. I looked at those simple, honest faces in the clinic, still smiling and trying to comfort me. My heart shook. I was overcome with emotion, nearly in tears. What had I done to deserve such honor and kindness? They were people of the northern border, people the capital mocked as frontier barbarians, yet what I saw in them was no complaint. They had a powerful will to live, and the resolve to give everything for their homeland. People say those from the northern border are cold and hard as stone, but right into me. The high officials and wealthy of the capital, sitting comfortable with their music and dancing, were the truly cold and hard one. I stepped forward and took a sharp sword from Abao's hand. I gently patted his head. Good boy, you're still young. Of Dr. He at the clinic, he was only 10 years old this year. He loved following me around all day, calling me his big sister. Hupo. Miss, I'm here. Hupo seemed to sense something. Tears fell, and her voice trembled. Everyone in the clinic under 12 years old must leave. Hupo, take them away. I gripped the sword in my hand tightly. No, I'm not leaving. I want to stay with Dad and Mom. Abao seemed to realize what was happening. Tears streamed down his face as he spoke. Crying suddenly erupted in the clinic. Listen to me. Your uncles died for this city. You are the last bloodline of Hengyang City. If you die, there's nothing left. Stay alive, understand? I said sternly. Abao, you're the leader of the kids. I'm giving you a mission. Keep your brothers and sisters alive. Al pursed his lips, struggling to hold back his tears. Dr. He and his wife came over, affectionately touching Abao's head. Son, men of the northern border are strong. Your father and mother believe in you. Abao threw himself into Dr. He's arms and sobbed. Time was running out. After a brief farewell, I had Hupo take them through the back door. Be careful. Before leaving, I took the jade hairpin from my head and placed it in Hupo's hair. I probably won't see you get married. Though, I plan to give you a grand wedding. This hairpin is my gift to you. Hupo, stay alive. I'm entrusting these children to you. You know where to go. Miss. Hupo bit her lip. Big tears streamed down her face. Go, hurry. I wiped away her tears and urged her on. Hupo pursed her lips, barely holding back her voice, then gritted her teeth and led the children away. Everyone present was rational enough not to ask where they were going. I turned back and looked at everyone in the clinic. I tried to smile. Everyone, let's move. Pisiti, people from the northern border all had strong military skills. After discussing with a few experienced soldiers, we quickly made a simple plan. Time was too tight to do much else. I knew everyone had accepted they would die. These actions were just to take down a few more Huns. I knew it too. I would die too. The Huns came quickly, perhaps because this was just a clinic. Nothing important here. The troops they sent weren't that many. Soldier Xiaoshen was a scout. After his arm got injured, he withdrew. He volunteered to gather in Tao. When he noticed them coming, he signaled immediately. First came a wave of Dr. He's special sweeping drug attack. Then everyone charged out. This was my first time killing someone. Even though my opponent had inhaled the drug and his limbs were weak, when I swung my first sword, I missed my target. I aimed for the neck, but hit his shoulder. Maybe the pain jolted him awake. I saw those blue eyes of the Hun, so different from ours, suddenly light up. Full of fury, he raised his blade to strike me down. Al saved me, slicing the Hun's throat with one slash. The spurting blood splattered onto my face. Al said nothing and turned to face another enemy. So the blood of the Huns is hot too. I watched the men fall and thought that. In the midst of battle, surrounded by roars. Time to freeze, I gritted my teeth and numbly swung my blade. I felt no pain from my injuries. But I was still a woman, raised in comfort for years. I grew weaker. I saw a Hun with red eyes slashing at my face. I had no strength to dodge. What does it feel like knowing you're about to die? The answer is nothing. In that instant, my mind went blank. I could only stare. Suddenly an arrow shot from behind, hitting the Hun right in the heart. The next moment, I saw that vicious face slowly fall before me. Over his shoulder, I saw silver-white armor, shining brilliantly in the sunlight. Looking up, I saw Ni Hanshan still holding his bow in shooting position. In that moment, he stood in the light like a god. The Northern Guard army poured out behind him, raising their blades to clear out the Huns in the city. After the wild joy, the roar of weeping mixed with the sounds of slaughter. My heart relaxed, days of exhaustion washed over me. My vision went dark, and I fell into a solid embrace. When I woke up, it was already dark. Hupo was lying by my bedside with tears in her eyes. Why are you crying? I looked at her and tried to smile. How's the situation in the city now? And the children, are they okay? When Hupo saw I was awake, her eyes lit up. She quickly wiped the tears from her face with her sleeve. Everyone's fine. The children are fine too. She continued joyfully. The prince led the Northern Guard army and captured the great Han Wanyan alive. They also captured tens of thousands of Han soldiers. The Huns are finished. Starting today, the border is finally at peace. I froze for a moment, still not processing it. After several seconds, I said, the Huns are finished. Yes, miss. And the prince? The prince brought you back that day, then left with the army. There are still some remnant Hun forces that haven't been cleared out. The prince's wife said, no one knows the grasslands better than him. Years ago, he ventured alone into the grasslands for 2 full years to scout. It's been 3 days now. He should be back soon. 3 days, my eyes widened. I slept that long. The doctor said you've been exhausted for days, completely worn out. But seeing you not wake up this whole time, scared me to death. Hupo said, still seeming shaken, then let out a long breath. Miss, are you hungry? There's thin porridge warming on the stove in the kitchen. A little. Okay, right away. Though I was awake, I stayed in bed for 2 more days before I could get up. When I went out, Honyang City had been cleaned up, but the ruins from the war were still everywhere. Blood still seeped through the cracks between stones. The people of Honyang City who lost loved ones still looked sorrowful, but after hearing about the Han defeat, and that the border would finally be at peace, their faces showed more spirit. The princess. Abao came running from somewhere and threw himself at my legs, looking up at me with a big smile. People around who hadn't noticed me before now greeted me one after another, all with genuine smiles on their faces. Princess. I smiled and nodded to everyone as I made my way to the clinic. After a big battle, the clinic was packed with wounded. We could never have enough hands. I couldn't just watch, so Hupo and I got back to work. Fortunately, we had plenty of medicine and supplies, no need to worry about that anymore. Half a month later, I was changing bandages for a wounded soldier in the clinic. Suddenly, I heard deafening cheers outside. Before I could send Hupo to check, I knew the reason from the shouts. Victory! Victory! The Northern Guard army is back! The Northern Guard army is back! Prince of the North! Prince of the North! I stood up and looked toward where the voices came from. Even the wounded lying on the ground showed joy on their faces. The prince's wife anxiously looked around the clinic, as if searching for something. When she saw me, she strode right over. What are you still doing here? Huh, changing bandages. Where else would I be? I asked, confused. Are you done? The prince's wife glanced down at the wounded soldier. Before I could answer, the wounded soldier quickly said, done, done. Then come with me. The prince's wife grabbed my arm and pulled me outside. Where to? Your man is back. Aren't you going to see him? The prince's wife's blunt words came from a head with absolute conviction. I froze for a moment. Not because of anything else, but because of those words, your man. My man. The soldiers at the front of the army rode tall horses. Days of travel left everyone exhausted and rode, worn. But now they all held their heads high, accepting congratulations from the whole city with pride. Anyone who could move had gathered on both sides of the street. Riding his white horse, at the very front, was Ni Hanshan. He had lost a lot of weight. Stubble darkened his chin. Though his lips were pressed tight and his expression seemed neutral, I could tell he was very happy. Seeing him like this, I suddenly remembered that spring years ago. After a great victory at the border, he was summoned to the capital to receive honor. That day he was just like this, on a tall horse, in silver armor. Though reserved, his eyes and brows held the confident spirit of youth. In that moment, he captured the hearts of so many young women. Too bad that young man's heart already belonged to someone. When the procession passed near the clinic, the crowd around me suddenly parted, as if they'd all agreed beforehand. The prince's wife pushed me from behind. Go on. Caught off guard, I found myself standing at the front of the crowd. Ni Hanshan looked over, pulled the reins to stop his horse, dismounted, and walked toward me. Wait, wait. His eyes were bright, his voice was hoarse. I didn't understand what he meant. I could only call out softly, my lord, congratulations on your victory. Before I could finish, he swept me up in his arms. I couldn't help but cry out. Cheers and laughter erupted around us. Ni Hanshan lifted me onto the horse, then swung up himself. He held me tightly by the waist, spurred his legs, and the horse surged forward. More cheers and laughter erupted around us. I knew they meant no harm, but my face still burned. I turned my head and whispered to him, my lord, put me down. This isn't proper. A low laugh rumbled from Ni Hanshan's throat. Wait, don't refuse. Look around you. You deserve this. His breath was hot and damp against my neck. We won. Starting today, the northern border will have no more war, no more displaced people. Never again will fathers send sons, wives send husbands, young children send fathers to the battlefield. Our northern border will be as peaceful as the capital. Wei, I'm so happy. Besides joy, his voice held deep remembrance. I turned my head and looked into his deep eyes. The Nai family were all loyal martyrs, 5 generations, hundreds of people, all buried in the northern border. Over 100 years of war finally came to an end in the Hanshan's generation. In that moment, my heart softened. The man before me, though not a proper husband, was truly an outstanding general. strategic planning, battlefield calm. On his shoulders rested the heavy burden of tens of thousands of soldiers and hundreds of thousands of northern people, like a mountain. Countless times in the dead of night, I'd bring him soup and find him alone, deep in thought over battle maps, the lamplight flickering, his silhouette radiating profound loneliness. I smiled a little, and said with feeling, yeah, it's all over. The army paraded all the way to the North Pacification Prince's men. Nai Hanshan dismounted and lifted me down with one hand. Once inside, hot water was already prepared. Nai Hanshan went to the bathhouse to wash up. I headed to the kitchen to prepare food. Steaming hot lamb noodles were served at the table and waited for a long time. A layer of oil had formed on the noodles, but still no one came out. I told Hupo to reheat the noodles on the stove and went to the bathhouse myself. I knocked on the door, but there was no response. After thinking for a moment, I just pushed the door open. In the steaming bathtub, Ni Hanshan was leaning back with his head tilted, sound asleep. His exposed body was covered with scars of all depths. I turned and left, calling for a guard to come in. By the time he woke up, it was already midnight. I was reclining on the daybed and woke up at the sound. Groggily, I saw a figure press me back down gently. Just keep sleeping. The door opened and he walked out. Curtain and the savory smell of lamb soup drifted in from outside. I bit my lip, feeling a bit embarrassed. What is it? Pressed my lips together. I told him everything about going to Lord He's house to seize medicine. The situation was really urgent at the time. I had no other choice. I thought he'd be angry or annoyed. But to my surprise, flickered in his eyes. Eat. Is it enough? I asked. It's enough. Perhaps because the big matter was settled, he seemed much more relaxed now. After eating, it wasn't long before La Hanshan fell into a deep sleep again. I sat on the daybed, awake all night. Yaoyou decree from the captain quickly. On the third day after Ni Hanshan returned, an urgent edict arrived at the North Pacification Prince's mansion. But apart from the Yule praise, it basically ordered Dou Hang Shanlemi the generals to return to the capital as soon as possible to receive their rewards. Then 3 days later, it was another sunny morning. Nai Hanshan and I sat in the carriage together, heading back to the capital. Kaki, just recovered from serious illness, sat alone in the carriage behind. Days of exhaustion couldn't be recovered in just a few days. Ni Hanshan spent most of the journey resting. All these years, Hupo helped me down from the carriage again. The steward led all the servants of the household to welcome me at the gate. Surprisingly, Kang Bunlu was there too. I never thought Weston bouquet and foxfur, with a ruby hairpin the size of a dragon's eye in her hair. She was all dolled up. Looks like her business adventures are doing well. When she was in the mansion, our relationship wasn't exactly hostile, but it was cold as ice. The prince's mansion was big enough that we could coexist peacefully. Apart from some gossip coming from Fan Garden, after I had the mansion's servants disciplined in front of Kang Bunlu, things finally quieted down. After Ni Hanshan heard the whole story, he threw all those people out. I heard that even Kang Bunlu's tears and pleas didn't help. Where's the prince? Bunlu woke over quickly and asked urgently, anxiety in her expression. He went to the palace. I replied sadly. After hearing this, Kang Bunlu immediately lost interest. She lazily had her maid Xiaoyu support her as she turned to leave. I was used to her attitude and didn't mind. Instructed the steward to bring me all the household accounts from these past days. A lot of matters had piled up during my absence. Apart from the usual praise. 3 days later, it was another sunny morning. Di Shan and I sat in the carriage. So now seeing Ni Hanshan come to the main courtyard on his first night back, how could the servants and maids in the courtyard not be happy? After all, no one dislikes seeing their master do better. Hupo looked at me with some worry. I pressed my lips together and looked at him with complicated eyes. Reason told me I couldn't refuse to let him stay. But deep down, I still felt some reluctance. I respected dedication to the country and the people. I admired his knowledge and was even somewhat drawn to him. 在大带住 we met at the wrong time, like planting sunflowers in autumn and never seeing them bloom in winter. Thinking of my parents, I really couldn't refuse at a time like this. Quiet sigh, I waved at Hupo. Go bring the prince his hangover soup. My Hanshan said pulled these eyes tearing some describe me. Ni Hanshan spoke. Yeah. Hupo glanced at me and replied. Even though he rarely came, his clothes were always ready here. As a wife, I never neglected any of my duties. Completely crushed the Xiongnu and ended the war in the northern frontier. Shetif was planning, half was luck. Being able to come back alive is a blessing. Wan Yan's youngest son being taken hostage, was that intentional? I asked curiously. No, more like seizing an opportunity. Wan Yan truly dotes on his youngest. He even wanted to push his youngest onto the throne. How could his older brothers, who are so much older, accept that? 与之里我 Josia's recklessness this time had his brother's help behind it. After I had the mansion servants disciplined in front of concubine Lu, Moko is fine wine and poisonable, intoxicating and deadly at the same time. It's not just the Shangyu on the grassland, the Glacier dynasty is no different. After His Majesty's serious illness recently, things have been turbulent. I heard His Majesty even has thoughts of passing the throne to his youngest, the 13th prince. Then, Fa Hozond, as the crown prince's tutor, is caught in the center of power with no way out. Jet aches just thinking about it. Even if it's just so father can retire, I have no choice but to maintain good relations with him. It's lonely at the top. Ni Henshin suddenly looked at me. He said that, out of nowhere. The sky had already darkened. Thinking there was a grand banquet in the palace today, he probably drank a lot. I had the kitchen prepare hangover soup. Then I told Hupo to serve dinner. In the mansion, I always ate simply. 3 dishes and a soup. Because I was too tired, I went to bed early. In the middle of the night, I heard noise outside. I put on my clothes and sat up. The moment I stepped out, I saw Ni Hanshan enter reeking of alcohol. The night servants and maids around looked mostly surprised, with a hint of delight. Everyone knew about my courtyard. From our wedding night when I married in. One time he stayed. Most other times, he'd just sit for a bit. From his appearance now, he was probably going to stay. 5 years of rigid hierarchy bound women tightly within their homes. The idea of following one's husband after marriage never changed. A woman not favored by her husband, no matter how accomplished she is, will always face endless criticism behind her back. So now, seeing Ni Hanshan come to the main courtyard on his first night back, how could the servants and maids in the courtyard not be happy? After all, no one dislikes seeing their master do better. Hupo looked at me with some worry. I pressed my lips together and looked at him with complicated eyes. Reason told me I couldn't refuse to let him stay. But deep down, I still felt some reluctance. I respected his dedication to the country and the people. I admired his knowledge. I was even somewhat drawn to him. Too bad we met at the wrong time. Like planting sunflowers in autumn and never seeing them bloom in winter. Thinking of my parents, at a time like this, I really couldn't refuse. With a quiet sigh, I waved at Hupo and said, "Go bring the prince his hangover soup. No rush. Prepare water first, I need to bathe." Ni Hanshan said. Yes, Hupo glanced at me and replied. Even though he rarely chatted, his clothes were always ready here. As a wife, I never neglected any of my duties. Sitting the table, I stared blankly at the moon outside the window. Moonlight pierced through the curtains, casting onto the cold floor tiles, leaving a lonely shadow. I'd grown used to being alone. Tonight, suddenly having another person felt strange. When Ni Hanshan came out, he was mostly sober. Hupo brought the hangover soup. He drank it in one go. One look he dismissed Hupo, who deliberately stayed inside. Hupo looked at me pitifully and laughed at my signal. The clothes fit well. Good that they fit. I tugged at the outer garment on my shoulders, trying to find something to say. Ni Hanshan returned to the mansion, but didn't go there. Fan Garden would probably make a move soon. Did you see the Empress Dowager? I did. During those days when we had no news from you, she was very worried. After the banquet, she kept me in Signing Palace talking for a long time. This time we completely crushed the Xiangyuan and ended the war in the northern frontier. Half was planning, half was luck. Being able to come back alive is a blessing. Wan Yan's youngest son being taken hostage, was that intentional? I asked curiously. No, more like seizing an opportunity. Wan Yan truly dotes on his youngest. He even wanted to push his youngest onto the throne. How could his older brothers, who are so much older, accept that? Yusha's recklessness this time had his brothers' help behind it. Ni Hanshan let out a cold laugh. His eyes carried some indescribable meaning. Power is fine wine and poison both. Intoxicating and deadly at the same time. It's not just the Shangnu on the grasslands, the Great Xia dynasty is no different. After His Majesty's serious illness recently, things have been turbulent. I heard His Majesty even has thoughts of passing the throne to his youngest, the 13th prince. And father, as the crown prince's tutor, is caught in the center of power with no way out. My head aches just thinking about it. Even if it's just so father can retire safely, I have no choice but to maintain good relations with him. It's lonely at the top. Ni Hanshan suddenly looked at me. He said that out of nowhere. Just as I was about to speak, I finally heard the rescue I'd been waiting for. Mama Zhao's voice was so pleasant in that moment. Hupo really understood me. She'd usually put up some resistance, but now she just let them in directly. Mama Zhao lifted the curtain and headed straight for Ni Hanshan. After I dealt with her a few times openly and behind the scenes, she was clearly more obedient now. At least she knew to bow. Greetings to the prince and princess. Mama Zhou curtsied, but her eyes stayed locked on him. I was in a good mood and asked politely with a smile, "Zhao, what brings you here so late? Is concubine Liu unwell?" It's the same old trick, but as long as it works on Ni Hanshan. The concubine isn't unwell. She just heard the prince was injured at the border and she can't eat, can't sleep. It's just that the prince went straight to the palace when he entered the city so she can see. Just now the gatekeeper said you were back, so she sent me over to ask. As she spoke, she carefully watched Ni Hanshan's expression. Normally, Ni Hanshan should get up and go over right now. But he didn't move, just calmly said in a steady voice, go back and tell the Kangju that I'm doing fine. Ang Zhao froze, then after a moment, tentatively said, the concubine waited from morning till night today. I know what she means. Tell the concubine to rest early. It's late. I'll stay in the main courtyard tonight. At his words, Anzhou's pupils shrank. I couldn't even control my expression. Ni Hanshan noticed, he looked expressionless, but the corner of his mouth twitched up slightly. Anything else? If not, you can go. It's getting late. The princess and I need to rest. With things said this clearly, Aunt Zhao knew Ni Hanshan's temperament and didn't dare say more. But when she left, her face was pale as a ghost. Concubine Lu isn't like me, with a strong background. Even if Ni Hanshan wrongs me, he can't go too far. Her entire position in the household comes from Ni Hanshan. If she loses his favor, even if I do nothing, just the gossip from the servants would be enough to drown her. And these years she's been too high profile in the household. Plenty of people have complaints about her. Wei, it's late. Let's go to bed. My body stiffened. My smile looked like I was crying. Ni Hanshan smiled and said nothing. He went into the room first, lay down on the bed, and watched me crawl in like a cat, shrinking into the covers, trying to keep my distance from him. Though we're married, and it's been years, I'm still a stranger to certain aspects of him. The lamp went out. My heartbeat got faster when an arm reached over. Ni Hanshan leaned in, his breath light by my ear. Wei, I'm sorry. I've made you suffer these years. The war's over. From now on I'll make it up to you. Sleep well. I know you're not ready. I'm willing to wait till you are. Get some rest. Tomorrow I'll take you somewhere. After that, he pulled his arm back. I breathed a sigh of relief, glanced at him, then quickly looked away. Though Ni Hanshan did nothing and even made such a promise, having someone lying next to me, I wasn't used to it. I dozed in and out till dawn, barely sleeping. Too much on my mind, couldn't sleep deep. The next day when I got up, I wasn't in good spirits while Hupo helped me dress. Miss Hupo seemed like she wanted to say something but stopped. I knew what she meant but had no words. Don't read into it. Nothing happened. The prince just had someone ready the horses. He said he's taking you out, and no one else should follow. Miss, where are you two going? Hupo asked with a frown. No idea, he only mentioned it last night. Since he's having horses ready, probably not close. I yawned, and said groggily. By the way, since we're going out, just do a simple hairstyle. And pick clothes that are easy to move in and playing. I'm guessing, it's not a social call. Yes. After hearing this, Hupo changed her approach, just pulled my hair into a simple bun at the back, then took out a magnolia hairpin to secure it. Though the Wa Hanshan still hasn't broken his habit of morning martial practice, when he came back it was just in time for breakfast. During the meal someone from Fan Courtyard came to request his presence again, but Ni Hanshan sent them away. After finishing, Ni Hanshan took a book I'd read, some wilderness tales, and reclined on the couch reading it, then rested a while. I sat nearby with a book too, but couldn't focus. I kept stealing glances at him. The feeling was strange. Though in Hongyang City, we went through some things together and got closer than before, we still hadn't broken through that invisible barrier between us. But after returning to the capital, he went to the palace once and everything changed. I actually didn't mind living the way we did before. Compared to other men who favor concubines over wives, he gave me all the respect I deserved. The reason Fan Courtyard's been so well is largely because of Ni Hanshan's control and restraint. Maybe I should find time to visit the Empress Dowager at the palace. I'm sure I can get some answers from her. Rested enough. Huh. I was spacing out and didn't react right away. Can we go? Yes. So he was waiting here for me to rest. My feelings were complicated. The horses were ready at the gate. Ni Hanshan led me out. Na Hanshan's mount Baixiu was pawing at the ground listlessly at the gate. When I came over, it immediately brought its head close. I patted its head and smiled. Animals are more genuine than people. Ni Hanshan laughed. Before I could mount up, he expertly scooped me up onto the horse, then swung himself up with smooth, crisp movements. Everyone at the gate was smiling. Just as Ni Hanshan pulled on the reins, about to set off, a frail figure stumbled out from inside the gate. Concubine Lu didn't even need help anymore, my lord. When she saw me on the horse, her eyes instantly changed color. My lord. Ni Hanshan looked down at her but didn't dismount. Yes. Nothing really, it's just that since you returned, I haven't paid my respects yet. Her big eyes were dewy, gazing up at Ni Hanshan expectantly. With that jade, white dress, she really looked pitiful. I turned to look at Ni Hanshan. Normally, he'd have dismounted by now to comfort her. But now he barely reacted. He just lowered his eyes. Well, you've seen me now. Today's cold. You're not well. Better go back inside and rest. Without waiting for Concubine Lu to say more, he ordered someone to escort her back. Concubine Lu froze in place, as if she hadn't expected this. Her eyes suddenly dimmed. I looked at her, but couldn't feel much sympathy. Yesterday I learned from the steward that after I left, without my control, the manor became her kingdom. Everyone knew she was the prince's darling. Who would dare cross her? During that time, Concubine Lu and her distant cousin did plenty of terrible things in the capital. Kidnapping women, seizing land from common folk outside the city, buying up shops on the commercial street for cheap, every evil you can think of. But since Ni Hanshan was at a critical point, fighting the Xiongnu, word didn't reach him. But plenty of impeachment memorials piled up in the capital. I really don't understand why she needs so much money. Ni Hanshan's love and indulgence of her is clear for all to see. With Ni Hanshan around, she'd live comfortably for life, better than most people. Greed is a sin. The servants present all looked uncomfortable. Their eyes toward concubine Lu subtly changing. I said nothing. Baixiu was getting impatient standing there. Ni Hanshan flicked the reins and it bolted off like it was celebrating. Still on the main city road, it kept its movements controlled. The wind was strong on horseback. Ni Hanshan gently pulled my cloak's hood over my head. Baixiu headed north, and once out of the city, it took off at full speed. I watched the road ahead, the wind roaring past my ears. Behind me was his solid, strong chest, hot and warm. Baixiu ran all the way to the foot of Mount Puchuo before slowing down. Ahead was a narrow path paved with bluestone. Wild grass just sprouting all around. Baixiu was familiar with this place. After we dismounted, it headed up on its own. I was just glad I had the foresight to dress simply. Ni Hanshan's expression was solemn. Like a pilgrim, he walked ahead with his sword, clearing the path for me, cutting away the wild grass. I vaguely sensed that where we were going today was probably no ordinary place. I stayed quiet and didn't ask. Just followed behind him step by step. After about an hour, we finally reached our destination. My calves were sore. I stood there resting. Before me was a cliff, and below the cliff was a sunken valley. The valley green grass and trees were everywhere. I could vaguely see many wooden markers planted throughout. Ni Hanshan rarely showed such sadness and melancholy. Wait, let's go. We're going down. Okay, I nodded. He reached out and firmly took my hand. I instinctively wanted to pull away, hesitated, then gave up. The usually spirited Baixiu became unusually quiet now. Each step down into the valley was taken with great solemnity. Looking down from the mountain was completely different from being inside the valley. Now I could see those wooden markers clearly. Names were written on them. The damp soil was mixed with rotted swords and axe handles. Rather than a valley, it was more like a mass grave. Ni Hanshan untied a bundle from Baixiu's back. Without looking up, he said, "This is the cemetery for the Northern Guard Army. Any soldier whose family can't be found, we take something they cherished and bury it here. The Ni family ancestors are all here too. Wait, can you cook?" "Yes." I guessed what he wanted to do. I unwrapped the bundle. Inside was rice, meat, and cooking tools, as expected. On top was a large bundle of incense. Ni Hanshan built a makeshift stove and looked for firewood nearby. I filled the pot with rice and went to the stream to wash it. I saw Baixiu standing by a wooden marker, rubbing its face against it affectionately. I walked over for a look. Names like Zhufen, Du Yinghishan were written on the marker. The wood was rotted. I could barely make out some of it. Many names were already blurred. I stroked Baixiu's head and let it stay there. After washing the rice and vegetables by the stream, I walked back. Ni Hanshan had already dug out the stove. The fire was lit. I put the pot with water on the stove, found a flat rock, and started chopping vegetables and meat. The rice would take a while. After prepping everything, I set it aside to stir, fry once the rice was done. Ni Hanshan brought 2 jars of wine. He took out 1 jar. Wei, come with me. Alright. I didn't say much. No one had been to the valley in ages. Rocks and weeds were everywhere. He led me to a large tree with dense branches and leaves. He opened the wine jar and said softly, "The ashes of the Ni family members who died in battle are all here." Then, he said solemnly, "Grandfather, grandmother, father, mother." Pushan brings his wife Wai Wei to pay respects. The Xiongnu are defeated. Although the frontier is secure, the Ni family's long held wishes fulfilled. You can rest in peace now. I'd already expected this. I crouched down respectfully and bowed deeply. Daughter, Lao Shuwei pays respects. Grandfather, grandmother, father, mother. Ni Hanshan lifted the jar of wine and slowly poured it on the ground by the tree. Then he knelt down and kowtowed heavily several times. I prostrated behind him and kowtowed too. I had no objections or doubts about this. The Ni family's sacrifice deserves it. Ni Hanshan stood up, pulled me over. And we sat on a rock under the tree. Right now he'd shed his general's burden, his dignity as the Prince of Zhengbei. Like a child missing his family, he talked on and on, telling the Ni family burial ground about all his experiences over the years. Hearing him describe life, threatening experiences, in such a calm tone made my heart pound. I'd been so well protected. The war I experienced in Hongyang City, compared to his, now seemed like child's play. He talked for a long time before stopping. He stared for a while longer, then turned to me. "Have you been waiting long?" "Gee," I shook my head. "No, we're not in a hurry anyway. It's been a while since you came. You can spend more time with them." "That's enough. My wish is fulfilled. There's plenty of time later. The rice should be about done. Let's go." He stood up and naturally took my hand. Halfway there, he suddenly asked, Wei, aren't you curious? Why is the Ni family burial ground here? A little then the tombstones on North Pacification Mountain are. If I remember right, the Ni ancestors' gravesite was imperial, granted, right by the imperial tombs. Those are just for show. Compared to lying up there all solemn for people to worship, our Ni family ancestors would rather stay with the soldiers they fought alongside. We came from here, and we'll end up here. Na Hanshan plucked a bright yellow flower and casually placed it in my hair. When we pass on, we'll both be here too. I was a bit surprised didn't respond. Thinking of Kang Jiban Lu's graceful figure, my feelings were complicated. I get it, he's opening up to me, but can he and I really have a lifetime together? At the stove the rice was already done cooking in the pot. I rolled up my sleeves and started cooking the dishes. Ni Hanshan lit the incense and walked around the valley, placing sticks here and there. A pot of white rice with a plate of small dishes plus a jug of wine. Na Hanshan saved 3 incense sticks and placed them in front of the food and drink. After offering the wine, he said a few words then called out and Bai Shu came over. Bai Shu's hoofbeats broke the silence. We were done, so we led the horse and slowly walked upward. Behind us the howling wind sounded like joyful cheers. Just as we reached the cliff, a ray of sunlight pierced my eyes. It's nice weather. I squinted at the sun hanging in the sky and said, yeah, nice weather. Ni Hanshan's lips curled into a smile. Unburdened, his smile was really handsome. Bai Shu whinnied excitedly and took the lead, seeming to urge us on. Going down was easier than going up. Before long, he and I were riding Bai Shu back. The wind whistled in my ears like a heartbeat. Soon as we got back to the Prince's Manor, news came from Fan Courtyard that Concubine Lu was having heart palpitations. The trick wasn't new, but as long as it worked, that's what mattered. I got off the horse, lifted my dew-soaked skirt, and looked up at him. In front of me, Mama Zhao from Fan Courtyard looked expectantly at Ni Hanshan. Ni Hanshan looked down at my face and reached out to squeeze my hand. Wait, I'll go over for a bit. When I get back, I'll explain. My situation with Concubine Lu is a bit special. Your Highness, please go. Don't trouble yourself over me. I smiled slightly, my face showing nothing. Hu Po stood beside me, barely able to hide her contemptuous expression. After everyone left, I lightly patted her arm. I reminded her, what were you just doing? Forgot everything I taught you about conduct and manners. No, Hu Po bit her lip, held it in for a moment. But finally couldn't help speaking up. Miss, what exactly is His Highness thinking? That woman in Fan Courtyard is clearly faking it. What if it's real? What if it's fake? As long as the person he wants to believe believes it, then it's real. Then what does it mean that His Highness treats Miss like this? Hu Po sounded quite indignant. Hu Po, you grew up with me. You should understand this world isn't fair to women. Men being fickle is normal. Cases like my father and mother, never wavering for life. Loving only one person, that kind of love is rare. It's lucky if you get it, no loss if you don't. The topic was too private. When maids spotted us and wanted to come pay respects, I waved them all away. Shou Pupil came forward and supported my arm. I'd climbed the mountain too long and was tired. I looked closely at Hu Po's face and suddenly realized this young girl who'd followed me had blossomed into a beautiful young woman. I couldn't help smiling. Looking at you now, our Hu Po has grown up. Do you have a sweetheart? Miss, stop teasing me. We're talking about you. Hu Po's face turned red, her eyes darting away. I smiled, then got serious. Hu Po, I'm being serious. If nothing unexpected happens, this is probably how my life will be. But you're different from me. You grew up with me. I really want you to be happy. This world may not be fair to women, but above that is power and status. Luckily, your mistress happens to be one of the few in this world who holds power. You can choose freely. As long as it's not royalty, your mistress can guarantee that man will never dare mistreat you. You'll live a happy and complete life. No, I won't marry. I'll stay single. I want to stay by Mrs. side my whole life. Hearing this, Hu Po got anxious and said repeatedly, Silly girl, why stay with me? Or are you saying once you marry you'll stay far away from me? We'll still be together. I patted her arm to comfort her. How could that be? Hu Po's eyes were about to tear up. I just won't marry. I'll stay with Miss like this. Miss, you're such a good person. Why does it have to be like this? At this point, Hu Po cursed indignantly. He's really a piece of work. Watch your mouth. I shook my head, put my finger to my lips to signal her, to be fair. He's no different from any other man in the world. Your standards are too high. Besides, since I married him, he hasn't been bad to me. He's given me all the dignity and respect I deserve. If someone mocks me, he'll stand up for me, take his spear and storm their door. Now the Ministry of Rates minister's wife has to take a detour when she sees me. Then miss, don't you think it's a shame? A shame about what? I steadied myself, looked at her, and slowly said, Love is precious and rare. No need to force it. Even when people are in love, some still have a change of heart, don't they? Then miss, do you think His Highness truly loves Concubine Liu? Hu Po asked hesitantly. I froze for a moment. Why are you asking this? I don't know, just a feeling. Hu Po said with a furrowed brow. I smiled. Who knows, maybe. Back at the main courtyard, I had someone prepare a bath. After eating, I lazily reclined on the couch, holding a new poetry collection, flipping through it casually. I don't even know when I fell asleep. When I woke up, I was already in bed. Beside me was a solid thigh. I looked up. Ni Hanshan was leaning against the headboard reading, keeping watch while I slept. Awake! What time is it? I propped myself up to sit. 5:15, nothing's urgent. If you want to sleep, you can sleep some more. Ni Hanshan reached out and tucked the blanket around me. I still didn't want to get up. Hu Po's words had affected me somewhat. I really did want to sort out my relationship with him. I had to find an opening. So I started with, Your Highness, how is concubine Lu's illness? What do you think? Maybe it was real before, but not necessarily now. Ni Hanshan put down the book I'd read before and said with a half smile. Your Highness knows that, doesn't he? You're enabling it, aren't you? I lay back down and said it lightly. He probably caught the sarcasm in my words. Ni Hanshan looked down at me, a hint of amusement in his eyes. Wei, concubine Lu and I aren't what you think. I didn't answer. I just shifted my gaze to his face, thinking, then what is it? Pang Lu's surname isn't Lu, it should actually be Zhang. She's the last survivor of the Northern Frontier Zhang clan. Hearing that name, my eyes widened. The Northern Frontier Zhangs, that Zhang family?
Yes.
Zhangs of 100 go sweeping at night, 1,000 riders guarding the mountain pass.
Yes.
The Zhangs who embezzled military funds and caused the defeat at Hanyan Mountain.
Yes.
With each of Ni Hanshan's confirmations, my heart jolted. I vaguely understood why Ni Hanshan treated concubine Lu so specially. Frontier Zhangs protected the country but also failed it. The defeat at Hanyang Mountain back then. His Majesty flew into a rage, and several officials in charge of military supplies and funds lost their heads. The whole capital was a bloodbath. Followed my Ni family for years, facing life and death together. Concubine Lu's mother was my mother's cousin. Before she died, she begged me to save the Zhang family's last bloodline. The war was raging then. I could only bring her back to the manor and change her name. Deep in Ni Hanshan's eyes was profound wariness. Such a private matter, and Your Highness tells me today, this is. I lowered my eyes, subtly uneasy. Wei, you should know. Then why tell me only now? I shot back immediately. 战神, Ni Hanshan smiled and reached out to hold my hand. Because war is merciless, though the world says I'm an invincible war god. I can get hurt, I can die. Maybe from a stray arrow, maybe from a blade from nowhere, and I'd sleep forever beneath the northern frontier like my ancestors. No one who goes to war can guarantee they'll come back. Telling you would just give you one more thing to worry about. On the other hand, Your Highness probably thinks the current setup with concubine Liu and me dividing the manor works out nicely for you, right? I said bluntly. Yes, I admit it, Ni Hanshan said seriously, answering frankly. Also, Wei, I've never touched her. What? I stared wide-eyed in surprise. Hearing this, I was speechless for a moment. Ni Hanshan seemed like a normal man. Could something be wrong with him physically? Maybe my expression was too odd. He couldn't help defending himself. What are you thinking? As a concubine was out of necessity, taking care of her is the Zhang family's dying wish. Besides, I never planned to marry or have children. Call me heartless. Generations of Ni family sons are buried in the northern frontier. I'm the only one left facing that vast grassland. I don't want my future children to carry the fate of pacifying the Xingnu, living in constant fear and exhaustion. If I'm lucky enough to end the war in my lifetime, that's good. If I die, then the Ni family's fate ends here. Ni Hanshan said lightly, his calloused fingers gently rubbing the back of my hand. I paused. If Your Highness didn't plan to marry, why didn't you refuse when the Empress Dowager arranged the marriage? I couldn't refuse. Why? I couldn't help asking. Because to pacify the Xiongnu, I need her support. Ni Hanshan looked down at me and answered. Majesty doesn't actually want to see the northern garrison too powerful. To him, the Xiongnu are also a check on the northern garrison. Reigning the throne and imperial power have always been a hard nut to. We'd said enough. Going further would be too sensitive. I went quiet, staring at the bed canopy, slowly digesting this news. Hanshan wasn't in a hurry, just quietly kept me company until Hupo asked outside if we should serve dinner. I answered, got up. Just before getting out of bed, I suddenly asked. So concubine Lu, what does Your Highness plan to do now? These years she's made enough money. In a couple years, once things calm down in the capital, I'll find her a good family in the northern frontier and let her live a peaceful, happy life. Ni Hanshan helped me up, his large hand sliding down to hold mine. Wei, I'm sorry about before, but we still have a long time ahead. I understood what he meant, but I didn't want to answer. I just lowered my face and smiled. After dinner, Ni Hanshan stayed in the main courtyard. While helping me bathe, Hupo carefully asked, Miss, this is... I shook my head. Sandward Hong. We're going back for a visit.
Yes.
That night, I could feel his desire, but he still kept his promise to me. Before I said I was willing, he held back his impulse. But I didn't sleep well. Though the Northern Frontier War was over, there was still a lot to handle. Plus all the manor banquet invitations, Ni Hanshan had little free time. The next day he left early. Hupo had the carriage prepared. We were about to head home. Then we saw Chief Yunoki standing with a carriage at the manor gate. Princess Consort, the Empress Dowager requests your presence. Hupo looked surprised and blinked at me. I waved my hand and smiled. Since returning from the northern frontier, it's been a while since I've seen the Empress Dowager. I should pay my respects. Hupo helped me. Yes, Hupo came right over and helped me switch carriages. The carriage headed into the palace gates. Chief Yunoki led me down that familiar path to Signing Palace. At the entrance, the Empress Dowager's most trusted palace maid, leading a group of young palace maids, she bowed to me. Greets the Princess Consort of the Northern Garrison King. I was surprised but didn't show it. Instead, I smiled. An Sujin, please rise. Is there something you need? Why would you trouble yourself to come with such formality? insisted on finishing her bowl, then stood up straight. She showed me a kind smile. Her relationship with the Empress Dowager is like Hupo's with me. They grew up together since childhood. Never married, staying devoted to the Empress Dowager. Her position in the palace is quite special. It's nothing real. Heard from Unity about what your highness did in Hengyang. I was moved and impressed. You're too kind. I'm nothing compared to the soldiers on the battlefield. I just did what little I could. I replied modestly. Your highness need not be humble. Su Jin's smile widened skillfully. The Empress Dowager even cooked your favorite dishes herself today. Well, I'm truly fortunate then. I smiled and composed myself. Looking at the magnificent palace ahead, my heart tightened. Like walking into the jaws of a bloodthirsty beast. Hupo was stopped right outside the hall. She looked at me with worry. A bold young maid beside her called out with a smile. You must be Sister Hupo. Come with us. To the side hall for some fruit. Go ahead. At my words, Hupo left. Su Jin lifted the crystal beaten from me and led me inside. Inside the hall, the still, graceful Empress Dowager was of white home cloth sat. The Princess Hengyang, now grown, and the current crown prince sat beside her, chatting pleasantly together. When I entered, you could see it. The Empress Dowager's eyes lit up. She propped herself up and sat upright. Ruwei, come here quickly. Let me get a good look at you. I hurried forward, curtsied, and stood obediently before the Empress Dowager. Look, you've gotten so thin these days. The Empress Dowager took my hand warmly and patted it gently, her eyes full of affection. The rebellion in Honang must have frightened you terribly. I was a bit scared. It's my fault. I troubled you to send Unity to bring me back. But the situation was urgent. I lowered my head, showing just the right amount of obedience. I understand. She smiled. Her gaze toward me grew more loving. I was your age once too. The facts prove it. I didn't misjudge you, entrusting Han Shan to you. I can finally answer to Han Shan's parents. Your Majesty is too generous. The prince is wise and capable. I'm the one who's lucky. It truly makes me feel unworthy. She's no ordinary person, to fight her way through all the talented beauties in the palace. How could she be anything but ruthless? Even though she's now Han Shan's aunt, I always feel strangely wary whenever I see her. Why be modest, princess consort? In my opinion, Han Shan is lucky to have married you. Princess Hengyang said with a slight smile covering her mouth. I turned my head to look at her. She winked at me playfully. Over these years, I've thought countless times late at night. If she hadn't fallen in the water, or if I hadn't been the one to save her, would I have met Na Han Shan in some other way? But reason tells me that even without Princess Hengyang, it would just be a different excuse. As for why it was me, perhaps it wasn't because I was so wonderful, but because my father is the crown prince's tutor. I was the best candidate. Thinking about it always feels pointless. But right now, I can't show any of this to others.
Listen.
Seeing this, the Empress Dowager smiled. She gently pulled me to sit on the cushioned couch. A palace maid brought my favorite yam and jujube cakes, coaxing me to eat. After some small talk, with Princess Hengyang joking around, and the crown prince being steady and gentle, the atmosphere seemed harmonious. 2 hours passed, and I was getting tired. But the Empress Dowager showed no sign of stopping. Just as I drank some tea and prepared to focus again, Su Jin hurried in from outside. Your Majesty, the Northern Garrison King requests an audience. He says you kept the princess consort talking so. You should return his wife to him now. As she said this, Su Jin's eyes sparkled with amusement. My ears turned red. Empress Dowager glanced at me teasingly. Alright, let him in. The way he talks makes it sound like this old woman has no sense. Su Jin left and Sun Hanshang walked in, wearing jade white brocade robes, his hair crowned with jade. After greeting everyone, more pleasantries followed. I felt like a child caught playing away from home, being collected by Ni Hanshan. He held my hand as we walked side by side, slowly. The crown prince walked beside us, the two chatting casually. They didn't seem to be discussing anything serious, but every word had an edge. I wasn't unfamiliar with the crown prince. That young naive child has now learned to play the adult games. Innocence is the rarest thing in the royal family. A draft swept. The deep palace was so cold it chilled you to the bone. A passing palace maids cast probing glances. Who knows how many spies were watching the scene. His Majesty is ill and considering a new heir. Who will sit on that throne? Ni Hanshan's opinion, holding military power, matters greatly. After parting with the crown prince, Ni Hanshan and I got into the carriage back to the residence. Seeing my pale face, he poured me a cup of water. What's wrong? Did my aunt give you a hard time? I took it, warming my hands with the cup, looking at him meaningfully. Not really. I just didn't expect the crown prince to be there. Why did you come? Finished my business, came home, didn't see you. Asked around and found out my aunt took you to the palace. So I followed. Ni Hanshan handed me a thick blanket from my lap. The crown prince wanted to see you, I continued. I know. You shouldn't have come, especially not now. At least not so openly in private. I shook my head. But if I hadn't come, could you have left? Ni Hanshan raised his eyebrows, half smiling. I shrugged. At most, just a few more cups of tea and a few more pastries. The Empress Dowager wouldn't keep me locked in Signing Palace forever. But staying there was uncomfortable, wasn't it? His gaze was warm, like it pierced through the grievance in my heart. Right now, I didn't want to pretend anymore. I let out a long breath. Yes, uncomfortable. But what can I do? The Empress Dowager is a formidable woman. If you feel uncomfortable, then unless absolutely necessary, don't go anymore. I looked at him surprised. The princess consort worked hard for days in Hunyang and her health isn't well. The physician says she needs rest at home. How does that sound? I narrowed my eyes. That's deceiving the emperor. Ni Hanshan smiled slightly. You don't need to worry. I'll handle everything. Aren't you afraid the Empress Dowager will be angry? She's been angry plenty of times. She shouldn't have dragged you into this. I warned her. Ni Hanshan shook his head. A hint of anger lurked deep in his eyes. Like a deep, swirling vortex. I understood his concern. After a quiet moment, I opened the cabinet and took out a carved wooden lacquer box, twisting it open. The box had 8 small compartments, each filled with various candied fruits and small pastries. Not knowing what to say, I could only show my gratitude with treats. After so long as husband and wife, I knew his habits well. He wasn't picky, but he preferred sweets. My lord, try some fruit. You made these? No. Hubo had someone buy these from the 8 famous shops in the capital. We came back in a rush. I'll make some for you later. I held up the box with a bright smile. These are preserved plums from candied with honey and rock sugar, not sour at all. These are ice cakes from Young's, soft and delicious. Clearly, these famous shops were unfamiliar to him, but he graciously tried each one. I ate some too. The box wasn't big to begin with. Now, there was hardly anything left. If you like them, we can go buy more when we get back, he said. When we get back, I didn't understand what he meant at first. Just then, the carriage stopped. Hubo's excited voice came from outside. My lord, my lady, we've arrived at the Xu residence. Hearing this, I lifted the curtain. The large character residence came into view. I looked at him in surprise. Ni Hanshan's lips curved up. Wasn't today's plan to visit home? My lord, you... I didn't know what to say for a moment. He stood up and got out of the carriage first. Alfred knew his hand. Let's go. You haven't seen your parents in a while. They must have been worried sick. When things happened in Hunyang, my father, his position, I hesitated. Wai Wei, you are my wife, he said seriously. I sighed and gave him my hand, letting him help me down from the carriage. Word was sent inside. My mother was so delighted the wrinkles at her eyes smoothed out. That evening she held my hand and kept saying how our hardships had ended. Our hardships had ended. To make her happy, I went along with the topic. But when children came up, my expression stiffened. The Nai family having no hair is an obstacle I can't overcome. After dinner, Ni Hanshan was pulled away by father and my brother to the study to drink more. I don't know what they discussed, but when he came out, his eyes and brows were smiling. Mother wanted us to stay the night, but I felt it wasn't appropriate and declined. Before leaving, Ni Hanshan deliberately went ahead, leaving enough space for father and me. I'd only been to Hunyang for a few months, but father's temples had much more gray. His eyes looked aged. He reached out as if to pat my head. Halfway, he lowered his hand. It's good you're back. It's good you're back. Mother said father's been working late into the night lately. Is your house alright? Father's fine. Spring's here, but it's still not getting warmer. Father, you need to take better care of yourself. Some things don't need to be forced. Let go when you can. Mother looked so worried when she mentioned it to me. I looked at him with concern. You're not young anymore. Jiwan is almost 10, even with the tutor teaching him. How can it compare to your own teaching? Why not resign and stay home? Enjoy your grandchildren. At those words, that? Father was quiet for a long while before speaking. Did he ask you to tell me this? I shook my head. No, it's my own idea, father. Capital's winds are changing. It's not too late to step back now, even if not for yourself. You should at least think of mother and everyone in the Xu household. When you're already waist deep in the mud, pulling back isn't easy. Is that what he thinks too? Father let out a long sigh. Your father should know what our relationship is like. So, father. I looked into his eyes intently. He lowered his lids, avoiding my gaze. After a moment, he called for a maid and sighed with a smile. Your mother made these pastries especially for you, your favorites. It's late, go carefully. Father feels at ease in trusting you to the prince. He didn't answer, yet it felt like he did. Yes. My eyes stung, but with the maid present, I held back. I'd stayed too long. Ni Hanshan was already looking from afar. His tall figure standing quietly in the wind. I curtsied deeply to father. Turned, lowered my head, and tears fell, seeming to sense my distress. Ni Hanshan didn't ask anything on the way back. But late that night, after the lamps were out, he suddenly spoke. If there's something you want to ask, just ask. Has His Majesty's mind really changed? I turned over, staring at his profile in the darkness. I know I shouldn't ask about this, and I shouldn't get involved. But after today's visit to Sign, and the conversations with father and mother, everyone knows about the feud between the crown prince's late mother and the imperial noble consort. Now, the 13th prince, whom His Majesty favors, is the son of the imperial noble consort. Noble consort's family is powerful. Her brother commands the Jingxi army guarding the western border. The only one in the Great Xia dynasty who can match him is Nai Hanshan with his northern garrison army. If the crown prince wants to ascend the throne smoothly, the first thing he needs to consider is Ni Hanshan's stand. Chen the Hanshan didn't answer directly in the darkness. His voice was muffled. There was an unfathomable coldness. His Majesty is already suspicious. Now that he's ill, his mind is even more unpredictable. Then what do you think, Your Highness? His Majesty is raising poison. I repeated quietly. Put 2 insects in the same jar. Give them no food. The one that survives is the winner. To His Majesty, maybe it doesn't matter who it is. What matters is the strongest one. The strongest one is also the most ruthless. I clenched my hands, thinking it over carefully. Wasn't His Majesty's own rise to power exactly the same? In the darkness, Ni Hanshan seemed to sense my emotions. He turned over. Like comforting a child, he gently patted my back and said softly, Wei, don't be afraid, I'm here. I wasn't afraid. It was more a sense of helplessness, gripping my throat. The wind was rising under the relentless wheels of time. No one could escape. 3 months later, on an ordinary morning, the real noble consort and her ministers caught everyone off guard by listing 18 charges to the crown prince. Among them were corruption, illegal seizure of land, and even colluding with the Shangnu. Who presented evidence. His Majesty was furious, but deep down, he hesitated. So the crown prince confined the Changchang Palace and commanded the Ministry of Justice to investigate thoroughly. Shang was to oversee the case. The capital was suddenly in turmoil. Everyone was on edge. My father, as the crown prince's tutor, was held responsible for failing to guide him properly. He was thrown into prison as well. Was busy handling the resettlement of the surrendered northern frontier people. On top of that, he had to follow the crown prince's case. He was so busy his feet barely touched the ground. Even when Xi Tianhong Ji, he'd only chat with me briefly before collapsing into bed. With him handling things, I wasn't worried father would be mistreated in prison. What worried me was the invisible hand behind all this. 18 charges couldn't have been prepared in just a month or 2. Mother cried every day. I stayed home for almost 2 weeks. I wanted to bring her to the prince's manor, but she refused. Wei, the path your father chose. I'm his wife. For better or worse. I accept it. But you're different. You're a married woman. The prince is a good man. He'll protect you. Don't get involved, understand? Mother gripped my hand. Her old eyes were full of earnest concern. The prince has no children. Give him a child. Wait, don't be stubborn. A son or daughter either is fine. I was speechless. My throat tightened. After a while, I forced a comforting smile. Mother, you don't need to worry so much. When the prince came home that day, he told me. He's already found evidence proving the crown prince didn't collude with the enemy. I'm sure the truth will come out soon. Really? Really? Why would I lie to you? That's good then. Seeing mother relax, I smiled. But inside, I felt dark. I hadn't lied to her. But could things really be resolved so easily? That night, Ni Hanshan Tianhong, dust covered. I had hot water pit. I personally brought him a bowl of hot noodle soup. I could faintly smell blood on him. He lowered his head and sniffed himself. I'll go wash up first. He started toward the bath. I grabbed his arm. It's fine, Your Highness. The water needs a bit more time. You must be hungry. Eat first. He looked at me. In the end, he didn't insist. He was clearly starving. A whole big bowl of noodles was gone in no time. It's almost over. Wang Yan has talked. In a few days, your father should be released from the ministry's prison. Wei, you can rest easy now. You've worked so hard these past days, Your Highness. Not hard at all. It's the truth anyway. Why? The path your father chose, I'm his wife. For better or worse, I accept it. But you're different. Honey, you're a married woman. The prince is a good man. 头不太重. Don't get involved, understand? Mother gripped my hand. Her old eyes were filled with pure concern. The prince has no children. Give him a child. I was speechless. My throat tightened. After a while, I forced a comforting smile. You don't need to worry so much. When the prince came home that day, he told me, he already found evidence proving the crown prince didn't collude with the enemy. I'm sure the truth will come out soon. Really? Really? Why would I lie to you? What's good then? Seeing mother relax, I smiled. But inside I felt dark. I hadn't lied to her. But could things really be resolved so simply? Ni Hanshan Tianhong dust covered. I had hot water prepared and personally brought him a bowl of hot noodle soup. I could faintly smell blood on him. He lowered his head and sniffed himself. I'll go wash up first. He started toward the bath. I grabbed his arm. 经灸辣椒，以雷一狠的领勾引，低亲自剂两河粉的洗又引作，横显他梦里，以贵虽嗨林挑和明西大果，悟道涛等问题，以有孔郭了，以就物降档，也据他林绝缘，你改不回连，又稳优了他的听两的瓜克类属，羽西的云死任府一，互博化流洗以凯林历练纳剑的免难。居连写一道是勇，不回以令一地走令格比线，我喵母闹并这个一敏到5年经济门并莫西，又夺柳银又安景远郭。一放结冷乌地利以见，一足影眼人，又回忆西老蒋归言立续修养几广场变玉的发理。因姐妹起有米一月了肚的班难的灵，有里列接人大了店以里格费金民的天理，素玉开杨过多多祖说礼简，将令故兄命门一本母里面远，五对丁放女各了柳一笔，言要半大举腿。He gently patted my back. His voice was hoarse. Me in the end, he didn't insist. He was clearly starving. A whole big bowl of noodle was gone in no time. As it's almost over. 我也还是逃抗治。 In a few days your father should be released from the ministry's prison. Wei, you can rest easy now. You've worked so hard these past days, your highness. Finding the truth is good. It gives the innocent justice. But 萧寒闪 paused. That's His Majesty's Ellie. Didn't they say he was getting better? The physicians say it's just a final surge. He probably has 2 months at most. My position since once your father is released, he needs to start planning ahead for certain things. He didn't spell it out, but I understood what he meant. They're rushing to make their move. They're trying to force the crown prince out. And as a firm supporter of the crown prince, father really does need to be more careful during this final stretch. What worried me more was His Majesty. What exactly did His Majesty intend? I'll go back and mention it to mother. I pass my lips to大嫂。一些你大人你已变调，你是这个接王爷夫，可要得方和虚公代表，无力阅读。刘金大领克森当楼员，我把节日买了一门是哈连电子的礼包听更你个在破节目那道理是马老师，王必有给的节了解，应标品给些我的蓝线，王爷有哈也那的寺庙先，梁玉有点米有业了，自气却因为我这个米，我够可他们都是无应记，王品质电抗一后日都到，王民都别无应听比较显的一件先批档的会。行业有经脱力，府邸大人难得都些就9名肯公道庙，韩把兄弟的这4夫人密，克己和英密，我们地位人恨，太子一素文密，请不羞耻，却因回外我特意。Has the crown prince been released too? Today, His Majesty lifted the crown prince's house arrest. Today, His Majesty lifted the crown prince's house arrest and ordered an investigation into the false accusations. Your Highness still in charge. Now it's goodbye, the commander of His Majesty's Imperial Guard. Oh him, then I'm relieved. He is upright and impartial. I'm sure he'll get to the bottom of it. Father nodded with satisfaction. These past days have really troubled the prince. Once I've recovered a bit. Wei, you and the prince should come home. We must thank him properly in person. Father, what are you saying? I'll mention it to Han Shan when I get back. It's just that he's been exhausted lately. He used to practice martial arts in the courtyard every morning. But now, he sleeps until the sun's high. Once he's rested, we'll come visit when he has time. I smiled. I didn't agree right away, but I didn't refuse either. Hearing this, Father laughed. I'm glad you two get along so well. Now I can rest easy. I pressed my lips together and smiled with my eyes. After seeing him home, I didn't stay long. I sent for the Keshari back to the manor, my face somber. Hupo beside me was confused. Miss, what's wrong? The master is out. Shouldn't you be happy? Nothing's wrong, Hupo, I am happy. I said this, but there was no smile on my face. Bai truly is His Majesty's confidant. Under his forceful methods, the imperial noble consort's conspiracy to frame the crown prince came to light. It spread everywhere. Several heads rolled in the capital. The 13th prince lost power overnight. Channeling their attack toward Nihan Shan, concubine Lu and her distant cousin's crimes in the capital were brought to light one by one. He kept taking me out. Mount Puchuo, Bixi Lake, Lanshan Temple. We went to every corner of the capital together. From the bustling Juki Street to the poor, cramped dwellings of Copper Coin Alley. Delicate pastries from the capital's 8 famous shops and dishes by masters. Also a street vendor soup that cost 2 copper coins a bowl and flatbread so hard you couldn't bite through it. We visited temples with thriving incense offerings and saw beggars in tattered clothes, humbly begging on the streets. Never before had I felt so close to him. Never before had I been so happy. He could sit high in temple halls, commanding respect among all the officials and nobles. But he could also bend down to help an old farmer who'd fallen in the fields, as warm as any simple countryman. I never imagined that besides his military genius, he knew so much about farming too. He talked easily with the old farmer. Maybe it was because I was staring too intently. He suddenly turned and smiled at me. After a few words, he ended his conversation with the farmer and walked over. He sat right down on the ridge beside me. The breeze lifted his hair, waves of weight rippled. His gaze drifted far away. I took out a teapot borrowed from a roadside tea house. I poured him a cup and handed it over. Wei, look, it's beautiful, he murmured. Yes. Mountains of gold and silver can't compare to this stretch of green. I reached out and touched the rice stalks. They felt rough against my palm. But it was this roughness that fed countless people living on this land. He laughed and began to talk. Nogantia has no seasons when the grass and water are. You can see vast herds of cattle and sheep running across the plains. The grass is green, the sky is blue. That's the best time of year. My father and mother always had smiles on their faces. They take me riding on the grasslands to the plains to watch the wild hold horse herds galloping. You can see wild rabbits jumping out from the bushes, plus deer and wild boar. A skilled hunter never comes back empty, handed from the mountains. Back then, everyone's life was pretty good. But the good times don't last forever. is not exactly a place with nice weather before winter even hits. The fierce north wind starts howling, and heavy snow makes the whole land barren. You can't farm in the northern frontier every year around this time. People freeze to death. Every year, folks starve in the cold. The Xiongnu from the grasslands always raid south in winter. You think they really love killing and conquering? The leaders might be greedy for power, but most people do it because they can't survive. When I was 12, my father died in battle at North Deer Pass. I took his place in the North Garrison Army, starting from the bottom as a foot soldier. That year was freezing. I was sent to stand guard outside the camp. The north wind cut across my face like a knife. Even the torches burning beside me felt cold. Looking ahead, the road was pitch black, scary black. I couldn't figure out where my future was, or where the northern frontier's future was. Do people of the northern frontier have to repeat this cruel, hopeless fate forever? I was so cold I forgot what time it was when I got back to camp. Back then, I had this big brother. He was our squad leader. When he saw I hadn't come back, he came looking for me. That's when I realized my feet were frozen solid. His brother was a local from the northern frontier. Great guy, real easygoing. His language was rough though. He'd been in the army 5 years. He barely escaped death on the battlefield a bunch of times. There was enough coal in the barracks so everyone squeezed together to sleep. The smell was something else. Talking about this, he laughed and shook his head. I was young back then to them. I was just a kid brother. The whole barracks had lots of kid brothers like me. Big brother and the others grumbled that I was an idiot while warming my feet against their chests. Every generation of the Northern Frontier Army was raised this way. Back then, I asked them, aren't you scared of going to war? They told me, being scared doesn't help. Who doesn't want a peaceful, quiet life? But the Shang keep coming. They come to steal our food, to take our wives and daughters. They kill our brothers. What can we do? We gotta fight them. Either way, it's just one life. Kill one, we break even. Kill two, we profit. See, wait. In the Northern Frontier, life's worth nothing. The smile on his face faded. There was a hint of bitter mockery. My throat tightened. As someone who grew up protected in the capital, anything I said felt too shallow. I could only reach out and gently hold his hand. He didn't look at me. His eyes drifted forward, like he was seeing that place again. Then he said, later, he died. 3 days later in a small battle, an arrow pierced his chest and killed him. That was my first time on the battlefield. These brothers protected us well. We won the battle. Then he died. He paused. After a long while, he continued. We captured some Xiongnu prisoners. Some were around my age. I was furious. I asked him why he went to war. Why he invaded my country. His eyes had this clear, dumb look. He told me, joining the army gets you food. 3 buns a day. Yeah, 3 buns can buy a life. Oh, Han Shan lowered his eyes after a long silence. He his hand and gently brushed the rice stalks in front of him, then said with absolute resolve. Wait, I want to try, even though the Xiongnu are gone. The real problems in the northern frontier haven't been solved. If we don't solve the food problem, sooner or later, there'll be more fighting. The northern frontier soil isn't good for rice, but I think with all this land, there's gotta be some crop that grows well and can bless the northern frontier. One day, I want the northern frontier to be as prosperous as the capital. Yes, it will be. I took a breath, then solemnly let the words come from my throat. He smiled and held my hand tighter. Together with me. Of course. We stayed a while longer. As the sun rose, I took Ni Hanshan to a nearby farmhouse to eat. Walking through the country fields, we laughed and talked. Suddenly angry shouts and curses came from up ahead, along with the crack of a whip. Cutting through the air. Several young men in fancy clothes rode tall horses. About 10 thuggish servants surrounded a few old farmers. Get lost. Get the hell out of my way. The old farmer crawled on his knees, kowtowing and begging, Sir. Please, I'm begging you. This rice will be ready for harvest soon. Please, no. Bah, you old fool, don't push your luck. Get out of my way right now. Don't ruin the young master's fun, or you'll regret it. Ni Hanshan and I rushed forward. A whip lashed viciously at the old farmer, sending him sprawling to the ground, groaning. Ni Hanshan frowned and stepped forward. Before the next lash struck, he grabbed the whip and yanked it hard, then whipped it back at the man on the horse. The servant stumbled a few steps and fell to the ground. Before he even lifted his head, he started cursing. You got a death wish, you know who we are. Where'd this punk come from? Before he finished, he raised his head. Next second, someone kicked him back down. I'm the one who hit you. The young master who'd been sitting on his horse turned pale. Ignoring the pain, he scrambled off the horse. The whole group dropped to their knees. Prince Jianbei, son of the Court of Judicial Review's junior minister, greets Prince Jianbei. I didn't know Prince Jianbei was here. I set down the basket in my hand and helped the old farmer still kneeling on the ground to his feet. What happened? The old farmer looked around, hesitating. Don't be scared. Just tell the truth. Prince Jianbei is here. He'll make things right. At those words, the old farmer relaxed. He immediately broke down crying, snot and tears everywhere. Thought the story wasn't complicated, nothing new, just some spoiled rich kids acting out. Too bad for them, they ran into Ni Hanshan today. People in the northern frontier will risk their lives for a meal. Here, for a bet, they can waste things however they want. You could see Ni Hanshan's face darkening. He gave a cold laugh and tossed the whip to the ground. He didn't even want to look at them. He said coldly, get lost. The spoiled brats glanced at Ni Hanshan's dark expression. Their hearts trembled, they ran off fast. I looked at him and pointed at their backs. That's it. Of course not. Kids aren't taught right. It's the father's fault. Someone's gotta learn a lesson. He said calmly, then turned around. He softened his tone and reassured the terrified old farmers. Don't worry. I'll make sure you get justice. I didn't know what he planned to do. I just figured some people in the capital were about to be in trouble. 18. The next day, word spread through the capital that those spoiled brats were scolded by their elders and made to kneel in the ancestral hall. The one who suggested destroying the farmland even had his leg broken. Their fathers at court got hit with several impeachment memorials from the censors. They were disgraced in the capital for a while. Some were even demoted 3 ranks and sent from the capital as 4th-rank officials to farm at the border. All the arrogant sons of high officials in the capital reined themselves in. People who thought Ni Hanshan had been goofing off in the capital now took a closer look. When the Empress Dowager summoned me to the palace, she brought this up. She laughed nonstop about Ni Hanshan's character and how he handled things. This boy's still the same. The prince's integrity is a blessing for the country. But being too rigid can break. The Empress Dowager hinted at something. This is a sensitive time. Better to keep things stable. I paused, caught on, and nodded. As I left Sunning Palace, I ran right into the Crown Prince. After being confined, he seemed much more composed. But his expression held some worry. I chatted with him briefly and left quickly. Before I left the palace gate, I noticed the guards at the city gate looked tense and serious. After I got back to the estate, news came from the palace. His Majesty was gravely ill and intended to revise his will. The winds in the capital grew stronger. At the same time, more and more people started testing me. Many wives of high officials came to the prince's estate under various pretexts. Most were from the faction supporting the Crown Prince. Ever since Ni Hanshan helped the Crown Prince last time, people clearly saw him as being on the Crown Prince's side. And the families of the young men he punished just happened to be under the imperial consort's control. Father kept pulling Ni Hanshan aside for talks, which seemed to confirm the rumors even more. I didn't dislike the Crown Prince, but I instinctively smelled a conspiracy. I told Ni Hanshan about this. He was silent for a long time. The look in his eyes was complicated. He simply said, Wei Wei, we have to choose eventually, don't we? I understood, but the dark feeling in my heart wouldn't go away. Ni Hanshan finally subtly took a side. The Crown Prince's faction gained the upper hand for a while. Plus, my father and the others went unprepared. Wave after wave of attacks hit the imperial consort and the 13th prince. From that moment, I seemed to understand more deeply what the so-called court really was. These people who looked refined and talked about morality. When they fought, they were no different from street vendors. The tactics they used weren't honorable either. Word came from the palace again that His Majesty was gravely ill and couldn't handle affairs. The Jingxi army guarding the western border showed some subtle movement. Empress Dowager acted decisively and had Ni Hanshan lead troops to suppress them. The day he left, I went to see him off. In the sunlight, he shone brightly in his silver armor. I reached out and touched his cheek affectionately. All told, you've only had this armor off for 6 months, I thought. At this point, I lost interest and didn't finish. Once this is over, Wei Wei, let's go to the northern frontier. In front of everyone, Ni Hanshan suddenly pulled me into his arms. Behind us, laughter and cheers erupted. Against his chest, I heard his heartbeat, drumming like thunder. Okay, I said. The army set out. Ni Hanshan riding Beixiu led the charge. His figure gradually disappeared into the distance. Only then did Hu Po step forward. Mr. Master wants you to come home for dinner tonight. I know. Send someone back to tell him. I'm not feeling well. I'll visit father another day. I lowered my eyes and said flatly. Hu Po hesitated, but finally said yes. I never went back home. I claimed illness and stayed at the estate for several days. Until the Empress Dowager summoned me to the palace and had me stay overnight in a side house. This was my first time staying overnight. Looking back now, maybe there were signs all along. In the middle of the night, fires lit up inside the palace. Then came the anxious, panicked footsteps of palace maids on night watch. I rolled out of bed. I'd just gotten dressed. Jing carefully tucked the dagger into my clothes. And Su Jing rushed over with palace maids. She grabbed me and took me to a secret room in Signing Palace. The Empress Dowager sat calmly inside, serene, even lazily sipping tea. Looking at her, if she hadn't expected this, she truly was worthy of being from the Nai family. The hurried footsteps of rebel soldiers, the dull thud of blades hacking into bodies. The pleas and screams of palace maids poured in without mercy. My face went pale. The Empress Dowager even tried to comfort me. But in this situation, it felt pretty hollow. Time dragged to midnight. Someone knocked on the secret room door. After a brief silence, it was suddenly pushed open. Just as I tensed up, Su Jin had already gone to greet them. The person wore black armor. Blood still stained their sword. They respectfully stepped aside. Wei Wei, let's go. The Empress Dowager stood, casually straightened her disheveled skirt, looked at me, and said, Cold Blaze. I didn't say much. I quietly followed behind her. All along the way, bodies lay by the roadside everywhere. A blood soaked the hem of my skirt. The closer we got to the main hall, the more blood covered the ground. You could tell it had been cleaned up. The bodies had all... Among the guards, I spotted a familiar face. Hiar, one of Ni Hanshan's men, had been scowling fiercely. When he saw me, he broke into a goofy grin, showing all his teeth. Bodies everywhere. I couldn't smile back, just gave him a nod. If he's here, then Ni Hanshan must be too. Lost in thought, I found myself at the palace doors. The doors swung open. Through them, I saw Ni Hanshan, his face cold as ice, and the crown prince holding a sword. Blood dripped from the blade onto the cold floor. At his feet lay the bodies of the 13th prince and the imperial noble consort, eyes wide open. When Ni Hanshan saw me, surprise flickered in his eyes. Then he glanced at the Empress Dowager and seemed to understand. The palace doors closed behind me. His Majesty, supposedly gravely ill, now sat on the throne like nothing was wrong. Not far from him stood my father. Seeing me and the Empress Dowager enter, His Majesty burst into laughter. His face twisted horribly. Fuan. Fuan, I knew it was you. It was you? The Empress Dowager brushed her sleeve and walked forward slowly. She even kicked aside the 13th prince's body blocking her way. She said casually, can't compare to you. To protect your throne, you'd even fake an illness. So your Majesty, are you happy now? The two sounds you feared most, one conspired with the Imperial Guard to stage a coup. The other killed his own brother with his own hands. Isn't this what you wanted? The Empress Dowager's voice dripped with mockery. I guess this is karma. My Ni family served you with absolute loyalty. Wherever your decree pointed, my Ni family charged into battle without hesitation. But you, over baseless suspicions, you trapped my Ni family's men. Troops advanced, but supplies never came. In the end, they starved to death. Now only Hanshan remains, and you won't even spare him. If you hadn't been lucky, how could he have survived this long? The Empress Dowager's voice was laced with scorn. His Majesty's eyes reddened, his voice hoarse as he shouted, Jiazu loyalty, baseless suspicion. Haha. Go ask the people of this empire. Everyone knows the Northern Army, but how many know me? The Northern Army is supposed to be mine, but it's long been your Ni family's private force. Your word Ni Hanshan carries more weight than my imperial decree. And you still dare to call that absolute loyalty? If your Majesty led the troops yourself, ate and slept alongside the soldiers, fought side by side on the perilous battlefield for days, you'd get the same result. Even better than my Ni family. Ni Hanshan's lips curled into a mocking smile. But you only want to sit on your high throne. Now hidden in this palace, looking down on the world. I am the Emperor. Yes, the Emperor. Ni Hanshan repeated the words calmly, a storm raging beneath his placid expression. Though I'm here now, this isn't something I should be part of. I quietly moved to a corner of the hall. I looked at my father in the distance, my heart cold as ice, like I'd fallen into an abyss. Inside the hall, things continued. Finally, the Crown Prince personally fed poison to His Majesty. As he lay dying, His Majesty looked at the Crown Prince and left his last words, tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. My father watched coldly from the side. It was finally over. My father finally spoke, his voice hoarse. Majesty has passed, the 13th Prince plotted treason and has been executed. The Empire cannot be without a ruler, we must ask the Crown Prince to ascend the throne. He pulled out an imperial decree from his sleeve, already prepared. The Crown Prince, a man who killed his brother and father, how can he be a model for the people? Grand Tutor Shu forged an imperial decree, that's high treason, must escort the Empress Dowager back to her palace. Now Hanshan turned and walked away, leaving the Crown Prince's panic, shocked face behind. As he finished speaking, the palace doors opened. He waved his hand and soldiers poured in. As the Crown Prince was dragged away, he struggled and shouted, then was gagged. The Empress Dowager looked surprised, then started laughing. Father cooperated, his face just pale. His eyes went from shock to realization, then to complete emptiness. Before leaving, he looked at me one last time, standing in the corner, and smiled with difficulty. I couldn't bear to watch. I turned away, tears streaming down my face. 眼盯眼挺. 3 days later, the 4th prince became emperor. Chaohuo was sentenced to execution in autumn for forging an imperial decree. But in recognition of his past service, Incense Yuan Kuai just descended his family DB. His Strim Fang was stripped of his position and reduced to a commoner. His descendants could never hold office. I don't know why it was the 4th prince. From what I remember, he had a gentle temperament and avoided conflict. But at this point, it doesn't matter. After the verdict came down, I asked Ni Hanshan if I could see him. He said nothing, just send someone to take me. The Ministry of Justice prison, first time I've been there. Dim light, cold and damp, blood stains between the icy stone bricks that washing couldn't remove. I'm a prisoner's daughter, but I'm also the Northern King's wife. Before Na Hanshan's attitude becomes clear, no one dares mistreat me. The jailer led me to a secluded cell. I pulled out a pouch from my sleeve and handed it over. Please, let us talk alone. The jailer licked his lips, looking tempted but hesitant. It's fine, he knows I'm here. That was self-evident. 压低了声音说道. The jailer looked around, quickly tucked the pouch away, and lowered his voice. Don't take too long, princess. Don't make things difficult for me. I will. I smiled slightly. The cell was small. The square walls pressed down like a lid on your chest. Dark and enclosed, with only a palm-sized opening at the top of the stone wall letting in light. When I entered with the food box, father was wearing thin cotton clothes. Bent over, writing something on the stone with water. Clearly, the Ministry of Justice hadn't let him suffer. I walked over, set down the box, and glanced down. To secure life and fortune for the people, continue lost knowledge for past sages, for all future. For a long time, this had been the foundation of father's life, and how he raised his children. You're here. He looked up and smiled at me. That kind expression was exactly like before. Yes, I lowered my eyes. I opened the box and took out a few small dishes and rice. Mother made this herself. It's rice from home. It to several streets to find it. She said before you die you should eat food from home, so that after death you won't forget the way back. How is your mother? She cried for days, but she's getting better. In a while, after we collect father's body, we'll go back to our hometown with my brothers. Your mother is a strong woman. I didn't respond, just respectfully handed him chopsticks. Father picked up a piece of meat and put it in his mouth, chewed slowly, eyes closing as if savoring it. Who did he put on the throne? He suddenly asked. The fourth prince, I answered. Oh, him. I taught him too. He's a nice guy, gentle type. A flash of surprise crossed his eyes, then calm returned. The prince treats you well. At this, I couldn't help the sarcasm in my voice. I looked at him. Wasn't this all part of your plan, father? Marriage decree 7 years ago, you arranged it privately with the Empress Dowager, didn't you? He was silent for a moment, then spoke, his eyes complicated. You know, father, I'm not an idiot. Maybe I didn't realize it. But he's been cold to me, fierce guard against me for years. Stuck in that small courtyard of the manor. If I still couldn't figure things out, I'd have failed your teaching. I said flatly. To pave the way for the crown prince, you sacrificed me. Saying this, my heart stabbed with pain. I paused before continuing. Maybe it was His Majesty's favoritism toward the imperial noble consort, or hints His Majesty dropped that made you uneasy. Though the crown prince is the designated heir, compared to the 13th prince with the western army behind him, he's weak. The only one who could rival him was Ni Hanshan. But Ni Hanshan is stubborn, focused entirely on the northern border. No intention of taking sides. Even though the Empress Dowager is his aunt, she can't sway him. So that's when you thought of me. You wanted to use a gentle knife to cut through the armor he wrapped around himself. You know he's lonely, you know he's isolated. You know he carries unspeakable pressure and burden, so you sent me to him. He's a blocker. But once warmed, the heat that bursts out is hotter than fire. You wanted to use me to get Ni Hanshan's forced support. Too bad things didn't go quite as you and the Empress Dowager expected. You probably never imagined that he and I would maintain such a strange distant relationship for so many years. I'm not stupid, and he's not dumb either. I smiled. Thinking of all those years, every time I saw him, every conversation, every verbal spar, and every moment of restraint, it all felt so pointless. But you still succeeded. Yes, I succeeded. Just as you wished, father. That's why after I came back, you seemed so eager and reckless. I let out a long breath, and without meaning to, tears fell. I spent 3 years figuring out what he liked. Then 2 more years getting into his heart. But some things, father, you might not understand, or maybe you've forgotten. True heart must be exchanged with true heart. If you weren't willing, if you truly hadn't found anything, you could have stayed distant like before. No one could have forced you, right? I may have had selfish motives, but wait. In all honesty, the prince is one of the finest men in this world. Yes, father, I fell for him. Do you think if I hadn't made him care for me, how many of our Shu family's hundreds of people, our relatives and children, would still be alive right now? Dagger, I warned you so many times. His Majesty is suspicious and jealous. He already saw you as a thorn in his side. If you'd been willing to stop, you wouldn't have had to go all in and end up like this. But someone has to be emperor. Why not the crown prince? What did I do wrong? Father seemed angry, slamming his chopsticks onto the plate. I looked at the spilled pork scattered on the ground and closed my eyes. I managed a pale smile. Father, do you know why His Majesty became so wary of the crown prince? Because His Majesty was... He saw himself in the crown prince. That selfish, cold, cruel version of himself. Father asked himself honestly, would the crown prince truly be a good ruler? How could he not? I raised him from childhood. When he killed his brother and father, did he hesitate even once? Emperors must be decisive. What about colluding with the Hans and abandoning tens of thousands of northern border people? Is that also a ruler being decisive? I said sharply. He closed his eyes. My eyes reddened as I stared at him. Father, when you were young, you went to the northern border too. You felt the northern winds, you saw the blood spilled by the people there. Do you really think this was right? Father, do you know what hurts me most? Not the father I was so proud of. My father who vowed to dedicate his life to the people, to bring them prosperity, turned out to be the mastermind behind all this. Those letters, others might not know. But I know they were written by you, father. He didn't even hide that from you. Father's expression was complicated, with a hint of relief. I told you, once I warmed his heart, I could see everything about him. I wiped the tears from my... Father, I just want to ask one thing. Why did you do this? He closed his eyes, seeming to sigh. There had to be sacrifices. The empire needs a new beginning. After the crown prince ascends, I'll guide him properly. But father, are you definitely right? Today you can sacrifice me, you can sacrifice the northern border. Tomorrow, what can't be sacrificed? Above imperial power is conscience. All the people hang on a single thought from whoever sits on that throne. Their lives are like dust, so easily destroyed. I close my eyes, tears fall hard. After a moment, I get up and kneel. Daughter says goodbye. I bow in thanks to father for years of care. After 3 heavy kowtows, I stand up. I look at him, eyes closed, silent, then I turn and leave. At the door, I hear an old voice behind me. Take care of your mother. She's getting old. And treat the prince well. He seems tough, but he's got a soft heart. Wei Wei, when father chose him for you back then, he did think about what was best for you. I grit my teeth, voice choking, and walk out. The moment I step outside, I see Nai Hanshan standing tall outside the cell. Deng Chaoqian. Yeah. I turn my head away from his eyes and wipe my tears. I'm here to take you home. Okay. The carriage ride back is silent. I've been avoiding him these past few days. Now that everything's finally settled, it's time to lay it all out. I have Hupo prepare a meal. We eat together quietly. The weather's nice today. Would you like to walk with me in the garden? I turn to him with a smile. Sha. Ni Hanshan looks at me and smiles, showing a rare hint of warmth. I reach out my hand to him, our hands clasped together. The garden's beautiful, but we hardly come here. We send the servants away and walk side by side on the stone path. No one speaks. Flowers bloom everywhere, bright and dazzling. Suddenly, he breaks the silence. I can let him live. He doesn't say the name, but I understand. No need to. Thank you. But when people do wrong, they have to pay the price. Besides, father may not want to live. Keeping his body intact is already good enough. I shake my head. Wei Wei, do you hate me? No, but there's something I need to ask of you. What is it? I stop, turn to face him, and look into his eyes, report my death. From now on, Shu Ruwei will no longer exist. He grips my hand tighter. After a long silence, he says you want to leave. I lower my eyes. Yes. Why? What your father did. He doesn't finish. I cut him off. It's not that. I shake my head, looking at him gently. You already know, don't you? You and I, there's been too much doubt testing and scheming between us. Our marriage was a transaction from the start, weighing pros and cons. That's why you abandoned me on our wedding day in front of all those guests. You knew concubine Lu was just putting on a show, but you were too guarded against me. You kept using her to test me. I didn't know you back then. The marriage came out of nowhere. And your father's position was too sensitive. He tried to recruit me before in secret. The north was unstable then. I had to be careful. He explains quickly. But I smile. I'm not blaming you. If I were in your shoes, I'd probably do the same. What you did wasn't necessarily bad for me. Your coldness at least gave me years of peace. But looking back now, you weren't wrong. I came with a purpose. I was using you. Even so, you're different from them. Am I? I don't think we're that different. I pause. His pupils shrink. I smile and continue. I'm grateful for how you've treated me lately. It's been the happiest time in all these lonely years of our marriage. But your kindness also has its own motives. You never wanted the Crown Prince or the 13th Prince to take the throne. You seem to stay out of it, but you've been guiding things step by step. Otherwise, the 13th Prince wouldn't have taken such a risky move, and someone as cautious as my father wouldn't have acted so rashly or chosen such an extreme way. Your real target is the man on the throne. He deserves to die. Na Hanshan says it calmly. I nod. Yes, he deserves to die. But in all this, I knew what my father would face. And I still went along with you. I'm an accomplice. Saying those last words, I can't help but soften my voice, almost mocking myself. I gave him many chances. Ni Hanshan goes quiet, pressing his lips tight. I know, I tried to persuade him too. People just get trapped by their obsessions for life. I let go of his hand, step back, and put some distance between us. He moves forward a few steps, but doesn't come all the way. Wei Wei, I truly care for you. What I told you wasn't a lie. I know, otherwise you wouldn't have gone through so much trouble. To protect my entire family. I'm grateful for that. But I can't forgive myself. I may have approached you with ulterior motives. But honestly, I have a clear conscience. I've never done anything to hurt you. I've never done anything to harm the people. As for my father, he got what he deserved. I won't say more. But you and I aren't a normal couple. What happened can't be erased. Better to separate than live with this barrier. It's better for both of us. You'll meet someone better in the future. You'll be happy together. He stares into my eyes. For a long time, his voice strained. Wei Wei, do you have feelings for me? I never thought I'd see such uncertainty in his eyes. In a way, father read him too well. To say I don't love him would be lying. How could I not have feelings for you? Saying this, I suddenly remember those innocent times. I smile, looking up at the birds flying free in the sky. Back then, in father's study, I first read your eyes see strategy. The one you wrote when you first became commander of the Northern Army. There's a line I loved. I still remember it today. With my strength, with my heart, I pledge myself to peace. With all I have, no regrets, no shame. Back then, you were just a stranger to me. I knew you were from the hero Nai family, the The last survivor. The legendary undefeated war god. But I was surprised by your writing. It was as good as my brother's, who studied under father. I was so curious, what kind of person were you? I'm a woman, but father raised me like a son. Father and my brother never hid their talks from me, so I learned more about the outside world than other women. And I heard more about you from them. My brother. He really admired you. He always praised you. It made me more curious. My smile grows wider. Those days at home before marriage were the happiest I can remember. But I didn't meet you until 5 years later. You just won a great victory. You forced the Shangnu to send envoys for peace. You rode through the streets in silver armor on a tall horse. Honestly, you were even better than I imagined. Then the Empress Dowager's decree came. I was stunned. All those butterflies I felt disappeared when I heard you brought a woman back. But I still had to marry you. I shake my head, my smile fades. After we married, I didn't say it, but I was resentful. I didn't understand why this had to be my fate. So I buried myself completely in books. But somehow, we clicked in that area. Every conversation felt like we'd known each other forever. I couldn't help but fall for you. It's rare to find someone who truly understands you. But we met at the wrong time. You doubted me, tested me. And me, call it pride, I just wouldn't settle. In Fayang, I read every book you had in your bedroom and study. Your mind is more interesting than I thought. It was my first time leaving the safety of the capital. I saw war firsthand. Some things you only understand by living them. Those code numbers on battle reports. They're real lives. They laughed, they cried. They lived with everything they had. Maybe that's when I started to understand you from another angle. Later, you opened up to me. I was happy. But I can't anymore. I force a smile. I know it must look awful. It's not too late to start over. I was cruel to you all these years. I knew it, but I did it anyway. He grabs my hand, desperate. Everything's settled now. It's not like before. Wei, you promised me. You come with me to the north. I'll be good to you. You don't like staying inside. We'll go riding. I'll take you to see the lake, the light on the mountains. If you don't want the north, we'll go south. Anywhere you want. Of course I'll go to the north. I look at him, speaking slowly. Just me alone. I don't say it out loud. The talk ends without resolution. After that, Ni Hanshan stays by my side every day, trying to change my mind. I don't mention leaving again. Everything seems back to normal. Late autumn, a cool rainy day. My brother and I bring back father's body. Following father's last wish, we cremate him. Holding his ashes, my brother takes mother home. Before they leave, Ni Hanshan comes with me to see them all. Mother and my brother's feelings are complicated. But in private, they tell me to make a good life with him. I hold Ni Hanshan's hand and smile gently. After they leave, on a sunny morning, I set the estate on fire. I arrange for word to spread in the capital that the Princess of the North died in the flames. With Hupo, I head to the north. I love the north. I love the freedom there. I love that I can walk the streets without worry and just be myself. I know I can't hide this from Ni Hanshan. I don't need to. The fire is just to give the rumors an answer. While waiting for father's sentence, we talked many times. All those cracks were laid bare before us. Our beginning wasn't pure. What came after wasn't good. How could we expect a perfect ending? Hupo and I settle in a small northern town. Without the Xihangnu threat, people here have more life in them. They're hopeful. Life in the north improves under Ni Hanshan's leadership. I open a school for girls, just like father did. I teach poor girls to read and write, and farming too. With the farmers, I test seeds I brought. The north is harsh. Most things won't grow. And hurry. I have my whole life for this. Ni Hanshan never appears. I think maybe I'll never see him again. Until one day Hupo and I come back from the market. At a street corner, I catch a glimpse of someone rushing away. Just one look, and I know. Hupo sees me staring. Miss, what are you looking at? I shake my head. Nothing. Let's go. Male leads perspective. After a while, I step back out from the corner. I look around. The person I think about day and night is gone. I know how sharp she is. Even from just one glance, she must have recognized me. But she doesn't want to see me. So she left without hesitation. Here stands beside me, looking frustrated. General, she's gone. Yeah. I feel a little lost. I answer quietly and say, let's go. General, how long are you going to keep this up? There was some irritation in He Yu's voice. When did our decisive Prince of Zhangbei become so indecisive? From Hongyang City to Li Town, even the fastest horse takes 3 hours. Whenever you have time, you rush over here, day or night, just to catch a glimpse. You want to see your wife, don't you? She's right here. But then you keep hiding from her. What is there between husband and wife that can't be talked out? Yes, I know. Her father was thrown in prison by you. But he broke the law, forged imperial edicts, colluded with the Shangnu. Every single one of these is a capital offense. Besides, you went to great lengths to protect the Xu family. Your wife is a reasonable person. Worst case, just kneel on the washboard. By the end, his voice dropped suddenly, unconsciously rubbing his own knees. His eyes started drifting toward my knees. I glanced at him and shook my head. General, for heaven's sake, your wife already left. Why do you still care about saving face? Our northern frontier were not as particular as those capital folks. Humbling yourself to your wife doesn't count as losing face. It's not about face. If kneeling on the washboard could solve this, why wouldn't I be willing? I smiled bitterly. Then why? I think your wife still has feelings for you, General. He scratched his head, looking confused. Because she's reasonable. I sighed deeply. The very weapon I used on her has now become an insurmountable distance between us. Is it because she's reasonable? Even knowing I used her, she still chose to go along with me. I don't know how much she struggled with that decision. Before my aunt arranged our marriage, I already knew of her. To be precise, everyone in the capital knew. Guan Yu the Shu's family treasured a precious pearl. Her virtue and conduct stood out among the noble ladies of the capital. Her literary talent rivaled any man's. Composing poems in 7 steps was routine for her. I was curious too. Someone even secretly pointed her out to me at a banquet among the noble ladies. A group of young ladies crowded by the pavilion feeding fish. She was the most striking one. Her clothes weren't the finest there, but her clear, radiant presence made it impossible to look away. She let a smile, her eyes curved like crescents, like moonflowers blooming across the northern frontier in summer. Just looking at her made you feel happy. Someone jokingly asked me, what if it were Su Ruwei? I never thought I'd have anything with her. Such a fine young lady would be wasted on me. I just smiled and said, however fine the pearl, it's not the one I see. Back then I had just changed the Zhang family orphan's name to Lu Ru, placed her in my household under care, to avoid my aunt pressuring me to marry. And to avoid unnecessary trouble, I simply announced I'd never take a wife. I planned to wait a few years until things died down, then quietly fake her death and send her away. The Xiongnu weren't defeated, the northern frontier wasn't secure, taking a wife would only waste her years. But later circumstances were beyond my control. Ruo's identity was special. Though I protected her in my household, I could hide it from others, but not from my aunt. The Zhang family embezzling military funds was a grave crime, and because of their embezzlement, the northern frontier fell into chaos. The Xiongnu to the north grew restless. Letting her live was already a special mercy. How could she allow Lu Ruo to stay by my side? And my refusal to marry and have children was my aunt's constant worry. So later came the arranged marriage. I never thought it would be her. Never thought my aunt would choose her for me. The military fund embezzlement case appeared to be the Zhang family's doing. But the more I investigated, the more alarmed I became. They thought they were careful. At everything on the Zhang family. But I still sensed something fishy. The trail led to the capital, to the crown prince in his high position. Grand Tutor Shu was subtly trying to win me over. But my aunt seemed different too, having her marry me at this time. I watched her, pale as she knelt, begging my aunt to resign the order. I should have refused too. But when I looked into my aunt's eyes, I understood I had no choice. I needed her support for a counteroffensive against the Xiongnu, not this passive defense we have now. So I stayed silent. During the wedding ceremony, Lu Ruo made a scene. I knew full well what my leaving meant to her. But I did it anyway. Partly from dissatisfaction with this marriage, partly as a test. After all, she was Grand Tutor Shu's daughter, renowned in the capital for her talent. She might have other motives. Her reaction surprised me. I thought she'd make a scene, maybe even call off the marriage. In a way, I might have been hoping for it. Being treated like that by her husband on her wedding day, I handed her the perfect excuse. But she didn't take it. She handled it better than I imagined, proper and dignified. Poised and graceful, she held it together through that impossible situation. Truly worthy of the capital's most celebrate. And that made me even worrier of her. On our wedding night, I deliberately brought up the ceremony, and Lu Ruo. Her clarity and approach surprised me even more. Honestly, I admired her. If not for our circumstances, I think we could have been good friends. But I couldn't fully trust what she said. That she only wanted to live peacefully in the main courtyard. Grand Tutor Shu's ambitions were huge. He wanted to pull me into the crown prince's camp. As his daughter, how could she really be that simple? I couldn't take that risk. The northern frontier couldn't take that risk. After the marriage, I tested her repeatedly. But in fact, she took no action. She kept to herself almost obsessively. The rumors and gossip about her never stopped. Maybe human cruelty is enjoying watching those in high places fall into the mud. The higher the praise she once received, the more mockery and slander followed now. She was like wind, like water. Silently enduring it all, never complaining to me. She even dutifully fulfilled every obligation as a wife. Every conversation with her, the meeting and matching of minds, delighted me. She really did seem different from her father, rational, intelligent, fair, and kind. Though a woman, she had a passionate heart. She believed in justice and held to it. and I seemed to develop feelings for her. That's when I realized. But by then it seemed too late to turn back. So I stayed in the northern frontier. Used distance and time to erase the feelings I developed. From reports from my spies in the capital. Without me, she seemed even more at ease. 6. I spent 6 years observing her. Human feelings are hard to control. I can't say if this was a rational judgment or emotional longing. I wanted to try getting closer to her. Hengyang City, she came at my aunt's command. This was where I grew up and fought for. I knew she loved reading, so I opened my study and bedroom to her. I laid out my whole life and thoughts for her to see. I tried to get closer to her. She clearly wasn't used to it. I understood that after years of distance, we needed time to mend things. I wasn't in a hurry. The ambush came out of nowhere. I knew someone leaked the information, but it also gave me an opportunity. The northern frontier and the Xiangnu had been tangled for too many years. It was time to end it. Wang Yan was arrogant and stubborn. News of my death spread. Plus this year's blizzard, famine on the grasslands. Wang Yan's sons all had their own schemes, internal and external troubles. Given his nature, he definitely threw everything into a second invasion. And that was exactly my opportunity. But I didn't anticipate two things first. How my aunt knew in advance and sent someone to get her. That she would stay. She was tender, braver, stronger than I ever imagined. Working as a medic, preparing medicine, risking her life with a sword to fight enemies. A lady pampered in the capital who never lifted a finger. She did what she should and shouldn't have done. I thought she was different from her father. His Majesty felt gravely ill. The winds were changing. Grand Tutor Su wanted my military power. He couldn't wait. But he didn't understand. The Zhenbei army is mine. Not something anyone can just take after I die. He can't. Even His Majesty on the throne can't. I'd make sure he knew that. Obviously he caught on fast, so he changed tactics. Turned his focus back to Wei Wai. My unconcealed affection for Wei Wai became his leverage. The 13th prince's pressure clearly stressed him out, especially the collusion with the Shah. That charge, I released it, and I cleared it. If he could use my influence, why couldn't I use his? And the most important piece in all this was Wei Wai. To make that old fox believe my feelings were real, I needed Wei Wei's cooperation. The more I learned, the more I teared, and the more my heart ached. When I got in too deep, I don't know. But I know I was cruel to her. But if I could do it over, I'd do the same thing. Mount Puchuo's valley can't hold all the souls lost in battle. Pichu Temple's Buddha can't hear all the cries of their families. The mountain spring can't wash away the killer's sins. I did nothing else, just forged a blade called truth and justice. I left it on the desk, watched as she plunged it into her own heart, questioning her own conscience. I watched her suffer, but I couldn't say anything. My feelings for her were real, but in that moment, they soured. She understood everything. Being too smart and rational maybe isn't a good thing. Even deceiving yourself becomes impossible. Then I won, completely, and the price was her. Here asked me why I didn't dare see her. I smiled bitterly. How could I dare? General, you came all this way, at least see her once. Hier clearly wasn't giving up. He followed behind trying to persuade me. No need, seeing that she's doing well. My voice caught in my throat, my eyes fixed unblinking on that familiar figure across from me. When did she arise? She stood in the light, a slight smile on her lips, so gentle. 22. My throat tightened. Compared to her composure, I couldn't bring myself to look at her. I turned my head away. After a long pause, I finally managed a grunt that didn't answer her question. Hier watched anxiously from the side. He just pushed me from behind. I stumbled forward a few steps, stood closer to her. She didn't back away. Clear eyes just looked up at me. Hier's booming voice followed from behind. Madam, we just got here too. The general was busy till midnight. Yes. Didn't even have water. Just set off straight here. Oh, is that so? There were rations on the horse, at least ate something. I explained hoarsely, heart pounding like a drum. Carefully moved my gaze back, hungrily fixed on her face. Those rations are hard as rocks. That's hardly food. Hier immediately complained. There's a decent noodle stand in Lutao. Since you're here, eat something first. She turned her gaze toward Hier. Hier gave her an ingratiating smile while winking at me. Madam, I'm not hungry. You and the general go. She acted as if she didn't see Hier's hint. Yingdao, looked down with a small smile, replied Jen. Alright. Since you're not hungry, forget it. Also, don't call me madam anymore. Xu Ruwei is dead. I'm Xu Ruwei now. Xu was her mother's surname. Finishing, she looked at me again. Your Highness, do you have time? I was speechless. How could I say no? I tossed the riding crop to Hier. Yes. She nodded at Hier, turned first and walked ahead. I followed close behind. She didn't walk fast, walking through the noisy, bustling crowd. But she had this peaceful, calm quality about her. These days away from the capital, away from me. Clearly her inner peace had grown stronger. Maybe because her back was to me, I could watch her without restraint now. Even just her silhouette makes me long for her. Her hands right there in front of me. I could reach out and hold it. I want to hold it, but I don't dare. I can only clench my own fist tight. She's so wonderful. How could I ever treat her carelessly? Your Highness, please step forward. Maybe my stare was too intense, made her uncomfortable. She suddenly stopped in her tracks, just for a moment. She waited till I caught up to her side, then started walking again. Okay. Maybe it's selfish, but I wanted to get closer to her. She quietly shifted away, keeping the distance just so. Half an arm's length apart, yet it feels like an impossible chasm. I felt bitter. I didn't move again after that. The whole way, she didn't say a word. She just led me to a noodle stand. The stand sat on the roadside. A pot of water bubbled on the barrel stove. Bubbling away, a small wooden table beside it held salt, scallions and other topping. A few yellowed, worn wooden tables sat around it. The vendor was a middle-aged man. He clearly knew her well. He greeted her warmly right away, though his eyes lingered on me, hesitant and curious. 2 bowls of beef noodles, one without scallions. She called out with a smile. You got it, Miss Shu. The vendor shouted back. I don't like scallions, she still remembers that. The noodles came quickly. The middle-aged man clearly treated her well. Her bowl had way more beef than anyone else's. I got the same treatment, by association. Thank you. You're too kind, Miss Yu. Take your time eating. The middle-aged vendor smiled, then turned to get back to work. Maybe she saw the question in my eyes. She looked down and explained. His daughter studies at my school. I know she runs a school. She teaches children and girls how to read and write. She was famous back in the capital, where talented women were everywhere. Teaching's no problem for her. Education's precious, in the northern frontier with all the years of war. Teachers are scarce. It's even more of a luxury. Is it hard? I asked. Not hard. She shook her head and smiled. Her eyes sparkled with light. This is what I love doing. Before this, I never imagined I'd be doing something like this one day. For a woman to run a school, the capital may be prosperous, but attitudes aren't as open as the frontier. Reading and writing have always been for men, even when wealthy daughters study and gain fame. It's just so they look better to their future-in-laws. My father was so generous with me and my brother. Even now, I still feel grateful and touched by that. Only through learning can you understand reason. Women can be just as good as men. She looked around. I'm lucky. People here don't reject girls learning like they do in the capital. Like this noodle stand owner, he was the first to trust me with his daughter. I'm so grateful for his trust in me. Seeing her smile, I smiled too. The frontier's seen a lot of fighting. Most men have been to war. In the worst times, entire families were wiped out, leaving only widows behind. Women often carry the same burdens as men. So naturally, they see women differently here. Women here seem more open and bold than in the capital. Before she finished speaking, a man in rough cotton clothes appeared across the street, shouting and running with his head covered. Behind him, a woman chased him with a rolling pin, fuming mad. Honey! Honey! I was wrong. I was wrong. People on the street didn't even bat an eye. Some even laughed and teased them. I looked at her. She smiled and shook her head. When she turned back and our eyes met, and her smile faded a bit. Your Highness, eat up. The noodles will get soggy. I want to take you somewhere. Okay. A moment later we finished eating. She took out copper coins from the pouch at her waist. She carefully counted out 8 and placed them on the tray. Let's go. I didn't know where she was taking me, but I figured that place was probably the reason she agreed to see me today. Following her, I arrived at a field outside town that had been cleared for farming. The farmland was divided neatly into several large sections. From the leaves, at least 8 different crops were growing there. She pointed at the fields. Your Highness, these are what survived so far. Before coming to the frontier, I had my brother help me collect seeds for crops that handle dry and cold weather. Truth is, I really don't know much about farming. Knowledge only gets you so far. I've made a lot of mistakes these past 2 years. I'm realizing more and more how limited I am in this area. Plus, I have more students now, and I just don't have the energy. I know Your Highness has been working hard on this too. I don't know if it'll help, but I hope it's something. Wei, thank you. My voice came out hoarse. How she is, the more despicable I feel, the better she is. The more ashamed I am. I actually knew she was doing this. She never forgot what we talked about before. These past 2 years, I've secretly watched her from afar many times. I saw her at the school, patiently teaching children and girls how to read. 6-year-olds sitting alongside 16 and 17-year-old girls. Their recitations drifting through the windows over the courtyard walls. I saw her, always so calm and gentle, grab a stick and chases a naughty kid all over the yard. I saw her roll up her sleeves in the fields working alongside old farmers carrying water to irrigate. Dirt scraping her hands and feet. It hurt to watch, but when I stepped forward, I remembered she didn't want to see me. I saw her standing in the fields, heartbroken when crops withered. You're too kind. You're the one being too polite. I smiled bitterly inside. How have you been lately, Your Highness? She sat down on the ridge, casually picking a small flower from the edge and putting it in her hair. The golden petals tucked into her dark hair. Her gaze on the vast fields ahead, a carefree smile on her lips. I sat down beside her. Good sense kept me half an arm's length away. Not great. The fighting's over, but the frontier suffered years of war. There's so many deep-rooted problems. Local clans have tangled interests, and the steppe tribes who surrendered haven't fully integrated yet. None of it can be fixed overnight. Governing a place isn't any easier than fighting on the battlefield. All the details and keeping things balanced, I'm still figuring it out myself. So she smiled slightly, her tone calm. Governing a great nation is like cooking a delicate fish. You have to take it slow. Same goes for governing a region. Your Highness has actually done really well these past 2 years. When I first arrived at Liyi town, the streets were run, everything felt bleak and weathered. There were only 7 or 8 shops on the street selling mutton and liquor. Now taverns and tea houses line the streets. Even silk merchants from the south have opened shops here. Life for people in town and nearby is clearly getting better. They may not know you personally, but they know you're making their lives better every day. You know what? When I visited my students' homes, I even saw them set up prayer tablets for your long life. By the end, she seemed to find it amusing. There was even a playful tone to her voice. Prayer tablets. I looked down and smiled helplessly. You have the people's hearts. The frontier folks really respect you. Some things seem tiny, small as dust, but they actually have tremendous power. She clenched her fist. Father used to say a country isn't just the ruler. It's made of countless people. Value the people's hearts. Where the people's hearts go, you can expand territory and keep the nation safe and stable. I still think he was right, but later, he forgot. 23. There was a note of reflection in her voice. I shook my head. I gave a bitter laugh and sighed. Time leaves no trace, but hearts change easily. Grand Tutor Shu used to be such an upright man. He once risked his life standing up to the powerful, submitting a 10,000-word petition for flood victims in the south. He fought for wrongly accused people. When the evidence pointed to him, I couldn't believe it either. I wouldn't have believed it without thorough investigation. So, Your Highness, will you change one day? She suddenly asked. I froze. I couldn't give a definite answer. I shook my head. I don't know. The future is too far away. Until someone's last breath, who can speak so absolutely? I paused, then smiled and asked tentatively. Wait. Are you worried? Maybe you could keep me in check. If I ever get drunk on power and forget the people, if I become greedy and cruel, you can end it for me yourself. I'm just a weak woman. If you do it, I won't fight back. I stared at her intently. I watched her lower her eyes, avoiding my gaze. Your Highness, if that day ever comes, it probably won't be my turn. There will naturally be people like you lining up to do. I do believe there's justice and righteousness in this world. Maybe she saw my intentions and didn't want to continue. She stood up. It's getting late. I have class this afternoon. I should go, Your Highness. She curtsied, her posture and grace perfect, just like before. I watched her walk away. The frontier wind caught her dress, making it flutter. I should have run after her, but I didn't. Maybe he is right. I'm a coward. If I really can't let go, then maybe I should be braver. The hardest part is getting started. I've already seen her once. After that day, I took some time to finish things in Hunyang City, then just stayed in Liu Town. I just felt bad for Hier and the others, running back and forth between Hunyang City and Liu Town with documents for me to review. Whenever I had free time, I stuck close to her. Before long, everyone in town knew Miss Tu from the school had a man following her around. When people asked, she paused, then said I was a friend. Afraid of scaring her off, I didn't dare say outright I wanted us to be together. But she understood. Her attitude was clear. She turned me down multiple times directly and indirectly. I just pretended not to hear. Men in the frontier chasing after women, rule number 1 is you gotta be shameless. But Hupo started looking at me with more and more hostility. She even chased me out with a broom a few times. I knew she was watching from the study. She probably felt angry too. One day, Hupo grabbed the broom again. But before she could swing it, I heard a shout from inside. She glared at me, then ran inside. A moment later, Hupo came back with a complicated expression, handed me a note, and pushed me out the door. I opened the note. It had just 2 lines in elegant handwriting. August 15, Water Moon Festival. The Water Moon Festival is a traditional frontier holiday. Men and women dress up and go see the lanterns at night. It's also called Lover's Day. Being invited made me nervous and excited. I barely slept the night before. Thinking back, she and I, all these years, aside from those brief days in the capital, never had moments like this, like young lovers. Black water, frost covering the ground. I held a peony lantern and showed up at her courtyard more than half an hour early to wait. I didn't dare knock. I waited until the door opened. She walked out, wearing a blue dress. Her dark hair was pinned up with a jade magnolia hairpin. She held a rabbit lantern. You could tell she dressed up carefully. Her features were delicate as a painting. She looked stunning. How long have you been waiting? She smiled at me. Not long. I couldn't handle her smile. I wanted to look away, but I couldn't bear to. The hairpin, I'd spent almost half a month carving, felt warm in my pocket. I wanted to give it to her later. Let's go, the lantern festival's about to start. She lifted her rabbit lantern to show me. Water Moon tradition. If a man's interested in a woman, he makes her a lantern. If she feels the same, she accepts it. But she already had one. I held my lantern, but still nervously offered it to her. She looked down at it, then finally took it. She held both lanterns together in her hands. Let's go. Okay, I smiled. I was really happy. I wondered if this meant she was actually willing. Liu Town is small, nothing like the Grand Lantern Festival they throw in Hunyang City. But as long as I'm with her, anywhere means something special. The whole town's hung with lanterns today, packed with people. Everywhere you look, couples walking close together. I moved a little closer to her. For once she didn't pull away. We wandered around like we used to back in the capital. Riddles playing ring toss, eating those famous land pastries from the northern frontier. Some sweet old lady even tied red strings around our wrists. 1,000 knots in the red string, lovers bound together. I looked down at it and smiled. When the moon was high, we came to Lover's Bridge. The bridge was covered in red flowers, all carefully arranged by the local girl. River lanterns of every color floated on the water below. They came together like a flowing river, like a moving sea of stars and fireflies. Drifting slowly forward, breathtaking in the moonlight. Want to sight the river? I asked her with a smile. She stared at the scene below, looking sweet. Without blinking, she said, okay. I moved my wrist. The red string pulled hers along. It was like holding her hand. Sudden 3 or 4 kids, maybe 7 or 8 years old, came barreling through, laughing and playing. A sharp blade cut through the string between us. The red string that tied us together snapped in the middle. It slipped off and fell. My face went pale, my heart sank. When I looked up, couples nearby were already yelling. We weren't the only ones hit. The red string represents your romantic fate. A broken string is bad luck. The kids' parents showed up fast. Their faces went white when they saw what happened. They apologized over and over while scolding the kid. She froze for a second in all the crying and apologizing. Then she grabbed my wrist like nothing happened. She said, let's go set our river lanterns. The lanterns hit the water. Everyone around us closed their eyes to make a wish. I felt happy. I forced a smile and asked, aren't you making a wish? She turned and smiled at me. Her eyes held something deep I couldn't quite read. No, I've got nothing to ask for. Really? Really? She raised her wrist. The broken red string seemed to be reminding us of something. Just like red strings break easily, the moon is meant to set. Some things, you just have to move forward from. The riverbank was still loud. Laughter and joy everywhere. But the air around me went quiet. I stared into her eyes. My expression froze, my voice went hoarse. Wait, Ed? She stopped looking at me and turned to the moon instead. She cut me off. Her profile looked so gentle. Her voice was soft. My lord, I know how. But when I left the capital, I stopped thinking about a future with you. I studied alongside my brother since I was little. I'll be honest. If I'd been born a man, I wouldn't have been any less capable than him. Just because I'm a woman. My world's been caged in by rules and customs since birth. See men get the whole world to roam. They can make their mark. All I could do was read travel books. I could only see mountains and rivers on paper. Even with all my ambition, I couldn't act on it. I thought that's how my whole life would be. Until I came to the northern frontier. She looked at me. Her eyes were gentle but firm. My lord, I really love it here. Here. I feel free. I don't want to go back to that tiny square of sky. Why? No one's making you go back. I love you. We can start over. I won't hold you back. You want to run a school? Run a school. You want to see the country? Go see it. You can do whatever you want. I can feel it. You still have feelings for me, don't you? I do, but deep down you know it's impossible for us, don't you? Don't you? Otherwise, why didn't you come see me for 2 whole years? It's been sharp. Left me speechless. Yes, because I knew it all too clearly. That's why I could only hide like a mole in the dark. Sneaking peeks from the sidelines, quietly even one more look felt like too much to hope for. I looked down. My hands clenched tight at my sides. Maybe I just couldn't let go. I gritted my teeth and asked one last time, is there really no chance? Why? She looked down, avoiding my eyes. Sometimes no answer is an answer. She handed me the peony lantern. Thank you for today, my lord. I had a wonderful time. Please take care of yourself. I must say goodbye now. She bowed, just like she used to. The rabbit lantern disappeared into the crowd and slipped away. I held the peony lantern in my hand, standing there, surrounded by happy couples. I looked up at the moon, feeling like there was a hole in my chest. A sharp, throbbing pain. You reap what you sow. The hairpin hidden in my robe would never graze her hair. The bright moon hangs high witnessing past. That year at mid-autumn, she begged on her knees not to marry. Now she only wishes me well. I'm left alone, looking up at the moon, tortured. I'm here ever since we got back from the Water Moon Festival. The general's been acting strange. He started burying himself in work around the northern frontier. He barely stops to rest. He used to visit the lady all the time. Now he hardly goes at all. Like he's running from something. But I still catch him sometimes. Hiding off to the side, sneaking looks. I don't know what happened. After he left, the general was so excited, he even made me help him pick out clothes. Spent forever, asking which one looked better. But I'm just a rough guy. What do I know about what ladies like? I just figured the general looks good in anything. Seeing him act so weird, I felt bad for him. I figured something must have gone wrong between the general and the lady again. I asked him about it, he just stayed quiet. The Knight family are all heroes, all laid to rest in the northern frontier. Now only the general's left. And he's given so much for this place. I can see how much he cares for the lady. It really worries me. 2 people who clearly like each other, but they won't get together. I had no choice. I went to see the princess consort. Woman to woman, figured it'd be easier to talk. After hearing me out, she went quiet for a long time, looking conflicted. As I left, she said something strange. Having a reason for hurting someone doesn't make it noble or worth forgiving. I didn't really get it. Later, when the general heard about it, he froze for a long time. That night he stared at the moon and drank himself into a